I couldn't have you on and not ask you about the decline of Western civilization. Of course, the 3 movies famous by Penelope Spheeris. How did that all come about? I mean, how did Final Conflict become part of that 3rd one with all those other bands?
Attention, buttholes!
Fuck you.
The next decline is coming up. And if you guys want to be in it, fuck shit up out there in the crowd tonight. Check.
All right, next time throw money, dickwad.
It's funny because that's the second Penelope Spheeris film I was in, because I was actually an extra in Suburbia. And
Okay.
And my friends from high school, like Warren, the bass player on Ashes Dashes, who's my best friend, he's in the footage. You see me for a hot moment because I'm on stage during DI. But anyways, that came about was because Penelope was going to do the 3rd one, and she was talking to, she was already involved with Naked Aggression and with the Resistance, and they kept pushing her and to say, hey, you've got to like put Final Conflict in it, because like they're the guys that organize all the cool shows, and they kept telling her they're Punk 101, like they're the dudes.
All right, everyone. Today on the tapes, we're joined by a true underground lifer, Ron Martinez, vocalist for the legendary Long Beach hardcore band Final Conflict and bassist for Lower Class Brats. Ron has spent decades not just making music that rips, but standing firm for punk values, against racism, fighting against homophobia, against corruption, and for truth and justice. Today, we're going to go deep. We're going to go into his early life, his musical path, talk a lot about Final Conflict, his idea on the state of punk, politics, and the world at large. Thank you for joining me, Ron. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Appreciate your time, man. Very, very cool. Where did it all begin for you? Where are you from?
I'm just a working class kid from Southern California. I grew up in Buena Park, which is like the first city when LA County ends and Orange County begins. But demographically, racially, politically, it's always been more LA based, and its politics have always been more working class, more, I guess you could say, liberal. It's never been like the OC or people like, or Reagan country like Anaheim. It's always just been, because it's a huge Latino population. The youngest of 3 kids, dad of a working class Catholic family, discovered music really young age and was like collecting and being a fan of music since I was 4 or 5 years old, and buying records since then. My mom would take me to the Treasury, which was like basically the 70s version of Target, and I was allowed to pick 1 record a week, like 145, and my mom would like let me buy. So I would buy like the Beatles, the Stones, Alice Cooper. My first 7-inch was a Creedence Clearwater 7-inch.
Okay.
And I've always loved music since I was a kid. As a young, like in grade school, I discovered, I think the first band that I really, really got into was Kiss. I was already a big Beatles fan and the Stones, but like Kiss, and so I was into Kiss and Deep Purple and stuff. And through that and years, like I discovered new wave and punk music, and like power pop stuff really was what I got into first. And then by the time like I was 14, I went and saw Rock and Roll High School at the theater, and I already was very, very well aware of punk rock, but hadn't really been absorbed more than like 30 seconds of a punk song. And when I saw the Ramones, I was just like, punk rock's pretty fucking cool. Like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be in a band, and I want to be in a band like this band. Because I didn't have to wear fancy clothes or anything. You could just wear jeans and a t-shirt. Then meeting other friends and through high school, one of my friends said, we're going to start a band. I immediately said, I'm going to be the singer, because I didn't know how to play an instrument, and play backyard parties. And through the years snowballed into like playing backyard party punk bands. There was a popular band called Convicted that would play every party and would open up every decent Orange County punk show. And they had a brief split up, then reformed, and they had asked me to join as their singer because they saw me audition for their friend's band that I didn't make the cut, but they were like, let's get that Ronnie kid to sing for us. I joined Convicted. We played a lot locally, and through being in Convicted, we made friends with the guys in Final Conflict.
Okay.
And we used to rehearse at the same place, liking Final Conflict a lot more than what Convicted was veering into. And our drummer as well, the drummer of the Convicted, we really became big fans of Final Conflict, and drunkenly spoke up to Jeff Harp, the guitar player, and said, we wish our band was like your band. Your band's so cool. And he was like, what? Are you fucking with me? And we're like, no, man, we wish we were in your band. And he was like, oh, because I wish you were my singer and you were my drummer. Next thing you know, like, no exaggeration, like a week later, we quit Convicted. We were in Final Conflict.
Oh, wow. And so whatever happened with Convicted, did they ever continue? Do you know? Or
I think they did continue for a while after that. I don't know. It was really weird because we were friends, like the bands were friends, and we were in the rehearsal studio, and basically, if you want to kind of dumb it down, Jeff stole us from them. And so it was kind of weird, but I was 18, 19 years old, and I was just like, it wasn't something that you go, hey, I want to quit, but it's not really the right thing to do. You're just like, everything has to happen now when you're a kid. Like, what if I don't get asked again? What if I never join another band? And the thing is what Final Conflict was doing was so much more what Dave Phillips and I were into and wanted to do. So it was just like, you're a kid, and you just sometimes don't think about doing the nice thing or and so we just up and quit. Like, hey, we're in Final Conflict now. Sorry, having Jeff ask me to join his band was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. Like, anything that I could say that's positive in my life was in some way connected to Final Conflict. Right up into this day. Like, the friends that I've made, and even the path I've chosen in my career path, the starting point it started with me being in Final Conflict. So, it was a good decision that I made.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's huge, man. That's huge. I want to get a little bit about like the first shows kind of before Final Conflict, but before I go on, you mentioned two huge bands are like iconic to everyone, almost everyone, but like Kiss and the Ramones. So were you huge into Kiss, and are you still into them? And were you like in the Kiss Army or no?
I was in the Kiss Army when I was a kid, and I still to this day have all my Kiss Army like membership pack and all that stuff, like the newsletters that I got while I was a member of the Kiss Army addressed to my parents' house. And like Kiss was the band that I became a fanatic of, like the first band, like that I became fanatical about, because, they were, what year did Alive come out? Because that was the first thing I'd ever heard by them was Kiss.
That's the 70s, right? Late 70s, right?
Oh, or early 70s, actually, like 74, I think, was Kiss Alive. And I bought the copy that I still have of Kiss Alive from a friend of mine in grade school who was like, hey, do you like that band Kiss? And I was already kind of like reading about him in Cream and Circus Magazine. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, my brother bought this record and he doesn't like it. And I bought it off of her for $3.
Oh, wow.
I still have that copy. But yeah, like all my old Kiss records, I have anything that came in those records. I still have it, like the tattoos and the photos. Like I saved all that stuff here in this room. Like I have like the Dynasty poster, and even as I was getting more into like power pop punk and new wave music, I was still like check out Kiss putting out a new record, but it was like this. I mean, just genuinely, those records weren't very good, or nowhere near as good as like them at their peak in this mid to late 70s. So. I'm still a fan of early Kiss music. I'm not, and that was at a time when you could be a fan of a band and not have to worry about like, because they weren't on the internet putting their foot in their mouth all the time. You could just like a band because they put out music that you like and left it at that. Nowadays you get too many of these musicians who are like, look, dude, I just come to you for good rock and roll. And if you're not political, please don't start, and then they say something dumb and then you're like, God, that's becoming a thing. If I like their band, that people are going to judge me, and I'm not a fan of like Gene Simmons, like wanting to charge for like everything. Like I think the Onion actually did, or was it Hard Times did a joke where Gene Simmons was going to charge a fan $1,600 to change his colostomy bag, which I wouldn't put it past that guy.
Well, what it wasn't. It's a true story, I think, where he was charging, I think, some like a contest winner, like I think 12 or 16 grand to be a roadie for a day or something.
Be a roadie for a day, yeah. And it's like
carry his bass.
But here's the thing: someone paid it, which is that's what's like. I mean, which always makes me go, man. If you put something for sale, like anybody will like do it. I make jokes that I'm going to do an OnlyFans profile, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell videos of my feet next to like really rare punk records, and then like. Special order like me singing songs to my cat or something like
you never know, you could find a niche for that.
Oh no, there'll be someone that pays for it. I went to go see Pro Fanatica just the other night. They played the Region.
Oh, that black metal band?
And the drummer sold, and I don't know if he's doing this every night, but he did it this night, sold a container of his own cum and someone bought it.
Is that real? I heard that on the internet. That's real?
No, he really did. And the merch person told me some dude bought it. And I'm like, well, hopefully it makes some cool, strange baby somewhere.
Yeah, that's a little weird, but
whatever. But yeah, people, if you put something up for sale, there's always something for everybody. And I'm not one to judge, so, but yeah, I just like Kiss's early music up until like the Creatures of the Night album I like. And they were superheroes, and they were like the first to do a lot of like stuff. So they're one of my all-time favorite bands.
Did you see them live back in the day? Like when the original?
Yeah, I saw them on the Love Gun tour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The opening band was Cheap Trick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw them. Those are the concerts that were recorded for the Alive 2 album was when I saw them. Oh. It was a great show. It's fucking awesome.
And I mean, just being kind of a little bit related to Kiss, being like you're in the music industry and like you kind of help bands book digging tours, which we'll get to. But did you ever get a chance to meet any of those guys in any like festivals or tours or anything, or no? Kiss?
No, I wouldn't want to. Okay. I think I want to meet Paul Stanley because he seems like a genuinely nice guy.
Yeah,
it's stuff like the stuff he's posted on Twitter is pretty cool. Some of it, but yeah, I don't need to meet them. I've got what I want from him. I've got a bunch of really cool records that I enjoy listening to, that's
understandable.
I don't try, and this is just an older man's point of view. I learned a long time ago to try not to have expectations on people. Like, the internet's changed things so much. And I really think like, look, all we should expect from musicians is the music that we enjoy from them and begins and ends, with Final Conflict, it's a little different because we came out the gate as a political punk rock band. We put ourselves in that thing. So if anyone was to say, present day, if someone was to say like, oh, Final Conflict went woke, it'd be like, motherfucker, where have you been? You don't know anything about us. And I hate that term woke. I really despise it.
Yeah.
But from the get-go, and Jeff Harp was really adamant about this when we were a band in the 80s. We made it clear in a lot of interviews because we kept getting called peace punk. Like we kept getting called anarchist punk, peace punk, anarcho, and we were always like, we're not peace punks because we're not pacifists at all, and but we are anti-war, anti-system, like. But we didn't want to like go and like put anarchy A's on stuff because not everyone in the band was an anarchist, for the same reason why we didn't do a song that was about animal liberation, because we never had a point in the band where all 4 band members are vegetarian, So I didn't feel right to write a song that, it's a young man's way of thinking, but I didn't feel right. Well, not all of us are vegetarian and we're going to write a song like kind of hypocritical. That's how I looked at it. So it was like, since we're not all vegetarian, that's not our agenda. We're not going to write an animal rights song. There was always references to it in certain things, in certain songs. But yeah, like I'm really fortunate that Jeff and I were both, even when we were young, made sure to not really kind of be like what other bands at the time, other political bands were like, calling out other people, like telling you need to go to protests, you need to do this. Like we were a hardcore punk band that had political lyrics, and we always are topical. Like to this day, when we play, I will say something like 30 seconds long about what's going on currently. We're never gonna not do that. But if you want to just enjoy us because we play loud, aggressive music, that's cool too. You don't have to. You don't have to be a progressive leftist to enjoy what we do, Yeah, I know I got a little off track on that.
No,
but yeah,
that's
I never wanted to be this. I got to work for the Ramones once for a weekend.
Okay.
That was interesting. I worked road crew when they did the Halfway to Sanity tour, and I got to meet. Like I spent more time with their crew, which was Monty Melnick and Arturo. Arturo was the guy who created the Ramones logo. He was with them from day one. And how like mom and pop, they really ran everything. It was literally a crew of 3 people, and they toured in a van. And they were very much a legendary band, and that was really cool, to get to, work with them for a weekend. Although we didn't have much contact with them because they really did. They came, they did a sound check, then they left, and then they'd show up at the gig like maybe an hour before it was time to play. But that was awesome.
What did you do for them? That sounds cool to work for such a legendary band. What did you do for working for them?
One night, it was my buddy Big Frank. He got us the job, me and my cousin. And one night was a show in the Northridge, at Cal State Northridge at Devonshire Downs. And we just basically worked through and did whatever, like, hey, go move that. Okay, now go. Like, we were kind of like, just kind of moving shit around and setting up and tearing down. The second night was they played a show at the Roxy. And I actually got to, they were so meticulous, like, about the stage show, the setup. Like, they changed every gel in the lighting to red, white, and blue colors. And so before I was like, I got to stand in like what would be the position of each band member, and they would move the spotlights by hand, get a big ladder, and then put it like, okay, now go stand where Joey's gonna. Okay, just to make sure that the lights hit each position right. And then after I did that, when the show happened, they put me in charge of standing at the backstage door, which was right next to the stage, so I could just sit there and look to my left and watch the band play, and then check everybody's credentials and say, you can come in, you can't come in. And that was like the whole night for me, and it was rad because like I got to tell like members of the Red Hot Chili Peppers they couldn't come in. And then when 2 members of Cheap Trick rolled up, they were like, I don't know if I have the right pass. And I was like, hell man, you're a Cheap Trick. You can go where the fuck you want, man. Like, and I just let them in. But I remember telling someone from the Chili Peppers, like, no, that's not the right pass. I'm sorry. You're going to have to talk to Monty. You know?
Was it Flea?
No, actually, it wasn't Flea. It was, it was either the guitar player or the drummer. It was either Frusciante or the, I don't know if that was Chad was in the band yet. I don't know much about the Chili Peppers, like past original lineup. Like, because I saw the Chili Peppers a couple times, like at Fender's Ballroom.
Oh, back in the day when like Hello Slow.
Oh yeah, they were like, still a local band and hadn't really broken out. They were
Okay.
I saw them at Fenders, and great live band, like really good. But yeah, I've never been a huge fan of the Chai Peps, but yeah, I saw them. They were good.
Yeah, man. Well, with the Ramones, Chili Peppers, I mean, it sounds the Ramones for sure, but it sounds like you work with like a lot of iconic bands, so that's really cool.
I was, yeah, like I said, that was just me being a road crew guy, you know,
yeah.
for hire, just doing monkey work, you know. So that's the advantage of being around for a long time, is I've gotten to see a lot of cool shows, or been, you know, been there to see it, you know.
Yeah, a lot of history for sure, man.
Yeah, I got a lot of history.
I know you mentioned that you joined Final Conflict, kind of not, you know, you weren't in the original lineup, but did you ever kind of have a discussion with Jeff, or kind of know to find out like what the name means? What does it mean to you? And like, what did he ever explain kind of what the name or the term means? Final Conflict?
Well, yeah, before I joined the band, like I already was, like I said, like Dave Phillips and I, like we were fans of the band and we knew them, but we were also like, we knew automatically what they were about, that it was an anti-war political band. And I would pick Jeff's brain about certain things. And, you know, he was just like, his synopsis was, look, my favorite bands are Crucifix, The Germs, Battalion of Saints, and Black Sabbath. And I wanted to combine the cool, and Discharge was another one. He was like, and combine all those things in one band. And I was like, well, you did it, because you got this heavy, dark guitar tone of Black Sabbath, and then the metallic edge, like the perfect blending of metallic edge and punk, which is like in Crucifix and Discharge, you know. And that was like the stuff that I just went nuts for, like all of those bands. So it solidified me like being into them as a fan, and then getting to join them, the band. When Jeff asked me to join, I was like, oh, cool, you know, I could put my mark on this because I know what I'm doing with this. Like, and I mean, ever since then, you know, Jeff and I have been like, you know, we've always been 90% of the time in line with things that we do and how we do it. There is times when, like, you know, it could be lyrics or song. Jeff, I will not write lyrics and then just, well, this is how I feel, and that's the end. Like, I will show them to Jeff and go, this is the song, this is what it's about. And if he ever had any kind of objection, I'd, you know, want to talk, or if it was something, you know, heavy that we would debate about it. We haven't had that more than anything. There's been times where, like, even Jeff will have a subject and he'll write lyrics. He goes, hey man, I wrote this song, this is the thing. And I'll look at it and I'll say, hey, do you mind if I add, I like this idea, can I add to it a little bit? And he'd be like, yeah, just don't change the subject matter. But if you got something, it was always been lyrically collaborative. Because when I joined the band, like Ashes to Ashes, every song was written music and lyrics by Jeff. He wrote everything. And then there was one song on it, The Last Sunrise, that the original lyrics just didn't work and I wasn't comfortable with them. And Jeff said, go ahead and write your own. And that's why it was a kind of a new song. So I got to write lyrics on that. But I've had some people go, hey, how come you didn't write any lyrics on Ashes? Like, all these songs were written before I was in. And but Jeff has never been only I can do the lyrics. You know, it's my band, my idea. He can be precious about like the music he writes and not want certain things fucked with, but he's always been good about me having free reign when it comes to the lyrics. I've always liked, my favorite songs with us is when one of us has a concept and then we both together write lyrics. That's with songs like Institution, Face Extinction, where one of us had the general idea and said, hey, can I take this and like add some stuff? I've always liked collaborative effort. Another song that I've always liked and we still play a lot is The American Scream. And that was a song where Jeff was just like, we're going to write a new song right now at this rehearsal. And we're just going to bang it out. And Ron just like, listen to what we're doing and try and come up with some lyrics. So I left the rehearsal room and I went and lobbied the rehearsal room and I could hear them piecing stuff together. And I just sat there and started, I already kind of had an idea. There was this comic book I was really into called Shay the Changing Man. and there was a character. It was some kind of a sickness, and it was referred to as the American Scream. And I always liked that character. It was a sickness across America. So I was like, I'm going to write this song called This Is a Nightmare, Not a Dream. Wake up and face the American Scream. And was like a thing I had in my head for a few weeks. So I was like, I think this will be the American Scream. So I was writing lyrics, and literally 15 minutes later, Jeff came out and said, hey, we've got an idea. Come back in the room. And then they played, here's this one part, here's this one part. We're going to kind of piece it together. That rehearsal, that song was banged out, like in that one rehearsal. Like I finished the lyrics, and it was just kind of like, let's see if we can, no one had any preconceived. I think I was the only one that has some preconceived idea. And it's a song we still play to this day. It's a song that a lot of people that like us are really into. And it's one of my favorite songs because it was genuinely a collaborative effort of everybody, you know?
Yeah.
But those were always my favorite things.
It's a little bit different though when there's lyricists and there's a different vocalist, but that's very cool. You're able to collaborate and bring it together to, I think it makes a difference because there's sometimes when people are very, closed-minded, they don't want anything changed in terms of music or lyrics. So it's good you can come together to, collaborate in music. That's good.
Well, I don't think so much as closed-minded. It's just sometimes I always say, like, don't get too precious about your music. And you have artists and performers that they get like, they have it set, they come up with an idea and they don't want it changed because they've spent a lot of time working on it. And they take someone saying, hey, that's cool, but why don't we try it like this as a challenge? Or they're, when you're in a band, and this is an overused thing, but it's true. It's like having 3 boyfriends or girlfriends, or 5, depending on how many are in your band. And so you have to learn to navigate and have to learn how to talk to people and not just go, some people, you can be honest, go, that's not a very good idea. Let's start from scratch. And they go, oh yeah, okay, cool. And other people that you say, I don't think this is a very good idea. And what they're hearing is you saying, that song's a piece of shit and you are stupid and you don't know what you're doing. And you have to learn how to deal with people. And, I'm lucky enough to play with people that don't get too precious with what they do. And there are plenty of times I've written stuff for Lower Class Brats and I have it in my head and I show it to the guys, and like the verse part and the chorus part, I'll show it to them. And then our singer Bones will go, oh, I really think that this part works better. Like I had this in my head that you flip flop those parts. And there's always like a thing in the back of my head. Like, yeah, but I spent all this time. And I'm hearing, my version is I'm hearing the verse part as the verse and the chorus, and you wanting to flip it around is kind of messing up my shit, bro. But I don't let the ego get in the way, and I say, okay, let's try it. And then 90% of the time, the person with the idea is usually right. Like there's quite a few Brat songs that I've written where it's like parts are flip-flopped, or I'll bring a song and I think it's completed, but then one of the band members says, I think it needs something. It needs just something. There's something. It just needs some oompa or something. I don't go and say, nope, I wrote it like this and this is how it goes. It doesn't need anything else. There's a lot of performers that do operate like that, but I'm not one. And the guys that I play with aren't like that. We're always trying to make the song, let the song ring out, let it be as good as it possibly can be. And so I don't care if it's like, there's actually a Brat song on our last album that the best part, I wrote all of the song except for this one part. And to me, it's the best part of the song. And I didn't even come up with it. The guy who was playing drums with us came up with it, And to me, that part really makes the song. Like, I didn't write it, and I'm okay with that because I just want to write stuff that sounds good and hopefully people like it. So, the bottom line is, as long as it sounds good to us, and that goes for any band that I'm in, that's what really matters. Like, if a person who likes our band doesn't like a particular song or like a record, that's okay, because a record was made for us. Like, and if you don't like the new stuff or one album, it's okay, because we're gonna play a bunch of other stuff that you probably will like. So, it's good. Try not to get too precious though.
Final Conflict, obviously you guys have played hundreds if not thousands of shows and toured and stuff, but I noticed that from your you played with a lot of punk bands, obviously earlier and still to this day, but you played with everybody from Aggression to like Napalm Death and like a bunch of different like metal and hardcore bands. So what do you think it is that allows Final Conflict as a band to cross between, you know, punk, metal, cross, grind, all these different scenes without any problems? Because you play a lot of different tours and shows with different types of genres of, you know, punk and metal.
Jeff Harp's guitar sound, because he has the fucking coolest, heaviest guitar tone, and it's a metal guitar tone, but it's playing punk structured songs. And so, yeah, we get to ride, and I love that. But one thing is Jeff really doesn't like for us to be referred to. I mean, a lot of people call us crossover.
Right.
Jeff doesn't like that term. And I think why is because there was an era where in the 80s, the whole crossover thing kind of helped kind of kill real punk. And it's different now. Crossover now is a little different, but we are. I mean, if you, and I agree with Jeff, we're a punk rock band. We're a hardcore punk rock band with political lyrics. But I do think that Jeff's tone and guitar playing kind of let us bob and weave through like playing with straight up punk rock bands and also like playing with bands like Nuclear Assault, grindcore bands, you know, like we've played with Napalm Death throughout the years, at least like 4 or 5 times now. And they're one of my all-time favorite bands. And they're like one of the few bands that it'd be like if Napalm were to say, hey, if you guys want to go on tour for a couple of weeks, I would definitely like go, okay, I got to put my work schedule, like see if I can make this happen because Napalm Death wants us to tour with them. I'll do it. There's not very many bands that I would drop everything, but they definitely are one of the ones that I'd go, okay, I'm going to try and make this happen.
Very cool. Yeah, no, they're legends for sure. Any other bands over the years that you've played with that kind of stick out, odd bands you open for, or maybe bands you've had open for you, kind of odd ones that are, or just kind of ones that didn't work out maybe, or any kind of that ones that stick out to you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, we had a band. I remember one time playing with a band and it was like, we're really excited to play with them. And then when we met them and played with them, they were total dicks. And the only reason why I'm not going to mention them is because they did years later, we ended up playing another show with them. And we only did it because of the other band on the show. And when they showed up, their lead singer came up to Jeff and I immediately and was like, I need to talk to you. The last time we played with you guys, we were total dicks. And we were on drugs and strung out and we just wanted to get our money and leave. And in the process, we treated you poorly. So to me, that made up for everything. Because our punk rock hearts were broken. We were such big fans. They were so mean to us, you know, like, and so I'm not going to name that incident just because it's the internet, and I don't want it getting around trashing that band over something that happened a long time ago, and they made it up to us the very next time they ran into us.
That's very cool.
I you know, and I also don't want to just slander bands that maybe I'm not really wasn't into. I'd rather like I could tell you that like some of the coolest bands that we've played with that were like you wouldn't expect them to be so nice, and they didn't have to be so nice. It's like anytime I played a show with like GBH, those guys treat every band that plays with them like they're the headliner. They're so gracious and so kind, and they were definitely the band that like I went, when you're in a big band, this is how you should treat all your support bands. They're so like grounded and not rock stars in the slightest, and they say hi and they want to hang out and make nice. And I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and believe me, like there's been plenty of times I've done a show where maybe I'm not feeling well or whatever, and I just want to go and do the gig and put everything that I have into putting on the best show. And I also suffer from resting bitch face, so a lot of people think I'm not as nice or possibly as nice as I could be. But I do like try to be like, I think it's important that as when you become a headliner that you try to be there to see all the bands and at least watch 2 songs of every band you play with. And I still try to do that. There's been a couple times actually recently, I played a gig with Clip 45 in Philadelphia area festival, and all of us literally were going to do it, like did a red eye flight. And we got there early in the morning and didn't get any sleep because I can't sleep on planes. And I literally showed up maybe 90 minutes before we played to the show. And I still feel like an asshole, you know, but I was really exhausted and I was totally behind on work. I was actually down the street at a friend's house in front of my laptop working on tours that I was booking. And then I finally looked at my watch and I'm like, man, we played 90 minutes and I'm literally going to be that guy. I'm going to be that asshole that strolls in just before they play. And I didn't want to be that guy. So I was like, I have to leave now, you know, but again, it still bothers me because I'm talking about it now. I think it's really important that when you're like, you know, you're lucky enough to be able to do this, that you try to be gracious whenever you can, you know, and just watch the fucking bands that you play with. At least watch 2 songs. Like, you're playing punk rock. Like, you're not that cool or that busy, you know? Like, watch the goddamn bands, you know? So yeah, and that's like a general rule with the bands that we play with. Everyone it doesn't have to be told. They all know, like, gotta go watch the opener a little bit, you know? Like, the bands are like being cool and playing with us. In some cases, they're loaning us their gear. The least you can do is at least watch a couple songs, you know, at minimum.
Yeah, that's very true. It's respectable for sure. And any type of music, if you're on tour, just to watch the bands you're playing with. I mean, I hear a lot of stories about, especially with bigger bands, but even sometimes not bigger bands where they act arrogant and stuff. And so, you know, it's refreshing to hear that bands still stick kind of to that ethic to, you know, support the scene and watch and, you know, watch other bands play, listen to music. So that's good. I want to talk a lot. You played so many shows in Southern California, but I want to talk a little bit about the Showcase Theater. I saw that recently there's like a documentary on it, but you remember playing a lot of shows there? I mean, I saw you, we've looked at flyers. You guys have like shows there with everybody from Naked Aggression, Litmus Green, Capitalist Casualties, so many other bands. Do you remember playing a lot of shows at Showcase in Corona?
Oh, yeah. I remember almost all of them, you know. That was a great place. I mean, me and Izot had up and downs and like, you know, sometimes, you know, he'd do something that would piss me off or I'd do something that would piss him off. But overall, I mean, that guy definitely gave more than he got, just by allowing punk rock shows to exist and happen in a place. Because it's not easy keeping a punk rock venue open.
Yeah,
it is, even in this day and age. So, you know, that place, he gave, you know, he gave a lot of bands a place to play, even when punk was not that cool. I mean, it wasn't bringing a lot. He was booking shows for like the Addicts and GBH, and like a big turnout for them would be like 150 people. Like when punk was just like not doing that great, you know. Green Day hadn't hit, you know, and it was just kind of people were into other things, and you know, but you could count on an Izot, you know, if the Addicts are coming, they would have a show to play, you know, at some weird ass fucking venues. One time, I think GBH played at this. It was normally a Mexican bikini bar, but he would rent the place out and do shows there. I saw GBH there. I think the Addicts even played at that place. It's not far from where I live, and I saw Motorhead there. It wasn't an Izot performance. And it was definitely like, this is a place that could only hold maybe 300 people. And I had already seen like Motorhead like sell out the Palladium and sell out like huge places. But this was when metal was like not like anything that was perceived as metal was kind of like playing small places. Like shit, I remember Iron Maiden at this time was playing like 1,000 cap venue and didn't sell it out in LA. Wow. That's how like, what bad turnout.
The 90s maybe, or what was like the?
It was the 90s era. It was like that era when they had the guy that replaced.
Not Paul did on a Blaze Bailey.
Yeah, it was that era, and they played at this club called the Palace.
Oh, and wow, that's right. Yeah, wow.
You know, like, and Izot was like slugging it out and doing punk rock shows. You know, at all these any place that would have a gig. You know,
wow. So, I don't know if we read that he recently passed away. I don't know if you knew or not, but
yeah, I knew.
Memories or thoughts you want to share about him? I mean, it sounds like you kind of knew him. And
like I said, like we had a relationship that was, you know, sometimes I'd be mad at him because, you know, I didn't feel he was being fair with the money to the bands that played on the show. But at the time, he was the only game in town, and he was taking chances. And I went to a few years ago, I went to a private screening of that documentary. They hadn't fully edited properly, and Izat was there. I already knew he wasn't in the best of health. And so I was glad I got to see him and say hi to him and talk to him for a moment. His diabetes was already, it was pretty bad. He was in a wheelchair. But yeah, man, like, I the things I was mad about, that I could say get mad at him about maybe here and there, they were just young man stuff, and it was just disagreements about business ethics or whatever. But in the long run, like I said, like, he definitely gave more than he got. And he had places for bands to play and gave a lot of bands a shot that normally wouldn't have. So he helped keep the punk and hardcore scene alive for a while, when no one else was able to, there was no venues in Orange County at the time. There was you take the 45-minute drive all the way out to Corona to go see a show. People from LA were driving out there, and when the showcase closed down, it was a bummer. There's never been anything replacement that replaced it, and saw a lot of awesome shows there, man. Like, saw Entombed play there.
Wow.
Saw bands that are now playing arenas play there. So yeah, but nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever, So, things need to change. Like, I don't think it should be. But it's good that things mutate and change.
Yeah, definitely. No, the showcase was legendary. I went to a few shows there, but basically on the end of it. But I know there was a lot of legendary metal and punk shows, but there's never been a place like that. Who knows if there ever will be? But in terms of Final Conflict, aside from Showcase, were there any other venues or maybe like shows or tours that stand out and burn in your memory for whatever reason, just particularly wild or crazy, or any shows or tours or venues that you want to mention that you have any cool stories about?
There's plenty. That the shows that were just like insane or had something happen, but the Fender shows were like, we were a local band and we were drawing so many kids and getting to play with like the Bad Brains, and we opened up for the Bad Brains on the Eye Against Eye tour, playing with the English Dogs. Was it? Did we play there? No, I take that back. Not the English Dogs, but played with GBH there. We played with Poison Idea. We played with Discharge on the Grave New World tour, and luckily all the opening bands were so fucking good it made up for Discharge. They were on the Grave New World era, and they weren't good. But that show was like, it's just kind of legendary for the flyer because it was like Dr. No in their original like great lineup, us, Attitude Adjustment, and Cryptic Slaughter. Cryptic Slaughter,
wow.
Yeah, they opened up the show, and every band was great. And
was that Discharge one? Was that the one where they were like kind of in the glam metal years or something?
Oh yeah, when they like real heavy metal music, and Cal was singing in this really bad falsetto, and they got booed.
Well, okay, yeah, I heard lead stories about that. So they suck basically at that point.
Yeah, I know
it's a bad album. Yeah,
if you go on YouTube, there's actually an audio recording of their show the next night in San Francisco, and you could just hear the audience boo them like over the music. It's pretty amusing. But actually, recently, Final Conflict just played a show, and it was one of our favorite shows that we played in a long time. It was we did two shows with Stalag 13, and we played the Friday night at the Sardine with them. But the next day, on the Saturday, we played a comic book store on the floor at this place called the Mystery Spot. And it's a comic book store, and they have like Magic the Gathering tournaments and stuff there. And we played there with like 3 other local bands on the floor, and it was fucking awesome. There's like 150 kids, genuine misfit kids, and 5 Mongols there, which is, like, wow, the bikers are here. But it was like all ages, and the kids were insane, and they like they were pitting, they were two-stepping. I got knocked into Nick's drum kit. And after we got done playing, like Nick and Jeff and I were talking and going, what a great show, man. Like that was straight out of like 1985, 86, like when we would play like rental halls. And that was so fucking cool, you know, and the energy of the kids. And this was the weekend that all of a sudden we just ended up with these bullshit ice raids that were happening like at the same time. And these kids on their own, I was not inciting shit. And they were like chanting, fuck ice, like, and fuck Trump, like in between the set, you know, like songs, and just riled up, you know. It was great. It seriously, like that, we've never done a show I can think of within the past few years where I've been like, oh, that show was bullshit. I've had fun at all of them, and they've always been good. But that show really, I think Jeff would agree, was probably one of the coolest shows we've played in a long time, because it was all ages, and these kids were going for it. The pit was 50% girls and guys and just going nuts. There was queer kids there and just genuine misfits. And I don't think most of those kids even, there were some kids that knew us that were there to see us, but I think it was like the first time they'd heard or seen us, and these kids were going wild, you know? And it was just like, yeah, this was definitely worth doing. It's just,
That's maybe you made some new fans, but with the mystery spot, was that in LA somewhere? Or?
it was in Oxnard.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. The people who ran it were so cool and so nice. And, you know, it was the last time we've played so far, and it was fucking great, man. Like, had such a good time.
Sounds cool. Like I said, hopefully like we made some new fans. Younger kids are getting into Final Conflict. That's always a good thing. You know?
I'm just hoping that place exists for a lot longer so more bands can play there, and those kids have a place to go where they're, you know, like again, like bands playing on the floor and just like, you know, no pretense, like, you know, just fun, you know, like,
Yeah.
it was why, that was like why, like, it was the kind of thing that would, if I wasn't in a band and I was a kid, I would have been like, I want to be in a band now. This is so cool. Like, so I hope if anything comes out of it is like some kids there start a band, you know?
Yeah, very cool. That's cool. Maybe like you have that feeling you inspired someone. That's always cool because you have that and you've been inspired. So that's very awesome. You know, I couldn't have you on and not ask you about the decline of Western civilization. Of course, the 3 movies famous by Penelope Spheeris. How did that all come about? I mean, how did Final Conflict become part of that 3rd one with all those other bands?
It's funny because that's the second Penelope Spheeris film I was in, because I was actually an extra in Suburbia and all the gigs. And my friends from high school, like Warren, the bass player on Ashes to Ashes, who's my best friend, he's in the footage. You see me for a hot moment because I'm on stage during DI. But anyways, that came about was because Penelope was going to do the 3rd one, and she was talking to, she was already involved with Naked Aggression and with the Resistance, and they kept pushing her and to say, hey, you've got to like put Final Conflict in it, because like they're the guys that organize all the cool shows, and they kept telling her they're Punk 101, like they're the dudes. So she came to our rehearsal and talked to us, and that was really cool to meet her, and she watched us. And then Penelope, I don't even know if she knows this, but I knew it, was as time went on, I was talking to one of the members of Naked Aggression, and I said, hey man, like, have you heard anything? Like, are we going to be in the next Decline, or is she going to film us? Because we haven't heard from her. And she goes, oh. She was like, I found out that they're not going to put you in. And I guess the basic thing is that we were already a lot older than the bands that were featured in it. You know, we were already in our 30s, or pushing 30. And I think that we actually were a little too mature and like together. Like if she was to film us, like, we weren't gritty enough, I guess, you know, because we were like guys that like played our punk band, but we had responsibilities, and Jeff had kids and day job, you know, had day jobs and stuff. And we weren't just like, we weren't living together in a communal style like the Naked Aggression members were, and the guys in the Resistance were like squatters for the most part.
Right.
And they're just a little older, you know. So he goes, I think it's going to be a pass. And then, so I was like, I understand that. She wants stuff bands that are a little more like gritty, whatever. That's fine. And then literally like a week later, I get a phone call from Penelope and she goes, "Hey, Ron, how do you feel about being in the movie?" "Yeah, cool." She goes, "Well, I heard that you're doing this show and you've got Lit the Screen and Naked Aggression on it. And we'll film you guys and the Limit Screen and Naked Aggression at that show. Would that be okay?" And I was like, "I think so. If the club's okay with it, I'm okay with it." So it turned out that Penelope put us in the movie because she had a change of heart because she thought that was worried that I might say, "Oh, you don't want to put my band in, but you want to film the show that I'm organizing." No. Like, she had been so far removed from the punk scene and so used to dealing with Hollywood that she actually kind of thought that, well, I wouldn't let someone like film at my event if they were going to put my band in it. So we ended up getting in it because she thought that I would have said no. But I fully would have said, if she would have said like, "Hey, I want to go to a different direction, but I want to film these two bands. Would you be cool with it?" I would have been, yeah, absolutely. Because those guys were I wouldn't have said it no. But we got in because she was worried that we'd say no. Like, I wouldn't let her film at the show, but I would have done it. And yeah, we're in it. It's cool. It's not the most feel-good movie ever. It's kind of sad. But it's kind of cool that I can say, like, hey, like, I'm in this, like, third part of this trilogy of, like, really cool documentaries. I mean, nothing will top the first two. I mean, I bought the Blu-ray box set of the movies when it came out. I still haven't watched part 3. I've watched the other 2, but I haven't watched part 3 because, I've got a really weird thing about listening to myself and watching myself. Like, every once in a while, someone will like send me a link for like, "Hey, this old show of you guys popped up on YouTube." And I'm like, "Cool story, bro." Like, I can't listen to myself talk on the mic.
Yeah.
Like, I made the mistake of doing it once at some old Fender show. And just like, I was like yelling at the monitor, "You're 19. You don't know shit. Shut up and play." It's like,
yeah. No, a lot of people are like that where they don't like their own voice. I guess maybe it's common among musicians, but
it is a common thing. Like, if I was in Final Conflict and I played the bass or drums or something, I would probably listen to Final Conflict. But once we get done with recording something, I don't really revisit it because, yeah, it's me sitting there like screaming and I just, oh God.
Yeah.
How did this far? I'm myself.
I think a lot of people that are creatives and musicians and, people like that feel away. Maybe it's common. But going back to the Decline, you said you were also in Suburbia. Do you know Penelope Spheeris, or how did that come about?
No, just was an extra. The Suburbia story was one morning, my buddy Dave Church called me and he said, "Hey, Jack from TSOL just called me. They're doing a filming for some movie about that lady that did a Decline in West Civilization. And it's about punks. And they're filming the concert scenes today. We need to show up at this place." And so we showed up at like noon and we were there for 12 hours. They filmed all those gig scenes in one, like, each band played the same songs live 3 times and they did different camera angles and they would tell us, "Okay, on this set, you guys stage dive. This one, no one comes up on stage." Just, they directed us like that. And the bands played live. And it was funny because I remember seeing when the film came out, there was a lot of people like in the punk scene that were pretty bummed out about it. Like, they felt it didn't view punks in the most positive light. But in hindsight, as an adult now, I'm like, no, that's kind of how it was. It's pretty accurate. Every group of friends had like the pill pusher guy. I think we were so worried that we didn't want people like, to think that we were all a bunch of little bastards, and we were, The movie still holds up. I still like it. And like, it's cool to be able to say, like, every once in a while, say, I'm in that. Shit. Like, I could show a little clip, like, yeah, I was there. I got to see that, like, I got to be a part of that.
Well, like you said, all 3, the first 2 are great. They're iconic. But I mean, the third one is a little bit underrated. We're watching it, and it's really good. It's got some good stuff.
Good. It's just, again, not the most feel good.
Yeah.
Like, it's, And that's the thing, is like, she actually was doing that one. She had a message and a cause, on that one. It wasn't just about the music. It was about the homeless kids at that time, or we don't say homeless anymore. That's right. Unhoused. Right. But we knew those kids. So yeah,
I wanted to ask about the live footage. Was that filmed for the Decline Part 3? Was that filmed at the showcase?
Yeah, it was all the showcase. And the way that it was done was they had all of us film beforehand, before the show happened. We had to be there really early, every band, and they filmed us playing the songs live. And that was so they could get on stage close up with cameras and everything. And then they spliced in that footage with the real live footage. Like, the audio on that is all us playing live in front of an audience. But it was cool getting to learn that, because they were like, okay, these songs that we're going to film with you guys is kind of into the set. The club's going to be really hot. So one of the things they told us is, make sure that you're wearing the exact same clothes right now that you're going to wear tonight. Do not change anything. Don't take your shirt off. Don't do anything, or you're going to throw everything off. Yeah. And they actually sprayed us with just water, so we kind of look a little sweaty, because they knew we'd be. So if they did the enter thing, like editing, you go, hey, Ron's sweaty here and he's not sweaty here. Like, what the fuck's up with that? Same song. So yeah, they did things for continuity. But yeah, we were genuinely, all the bands were playing live. And then they filmed us for the close-ups, and we played the songs live. We weren't lip syncing or anything like that. And then they filmed with the cameras in the back. And then they would have a camera, sometimes kind of handheld, in the pit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's cool to be able to be a part of that, punk history.
Oh, definitely. No, it's definitely iconic. And you have your, part in that. So it's very cool. Still to this day, it stands up to time. There's one part in Decline, though, where they talk, and obviously the third one where you're in, but they talk to Keith Morrison at that time. And obviously he was in the first one, and he talks in the third one about how, that it's changed and kind of how things gotten different. So now kind of you're in that perspective where it's been all these years since you were in it. Do you think punk rock has changed since, the 90s, or when you were kind of doing it? And do you feel like there's more political edge, or it's gotten stronger or weaker? Like, what do you feel about the bands out now and what they have to say?
I don't think it's gotten weaker. It's definitely, there's more bands, there's more, there's more different genres and different, there's certain types of, you could talk to one group of kids and say, oh man, I like punk rock, I like this, and they'll just look at you like, that's not punk. You know what I mean? Because there's so many different fragments of it. But I do think now more than ever, I think it's better than it ever has been in the sense that people, there was a time, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s, where being not on the right record label would get you, people wouldn't care about your band anymore, or, and now people aren't really so concerned about that. They're kind of more concerned about the music and the message. And you'll get a person that is into, genres crossover more now, or at least I think it does. So you'll have some kid that is into Rancid and then into Final Conflict, or a kid who's really heavily into The Garden and really into, Los Crudos or Valencia, and with equal vigor, that there's not so much segregation and gatekeeping. There's a lot of people who try to be gatekeepers, but I like the fact that kids seem to be more, hey, I like what I like, and not so concerned about, it shouldn't be about the peer group, deeming something not cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's no better or worse than it was in the past. I sometimes have to think of things not as a person in my 50s point of view and try to, like, when I hear something new, listen to it with a younger's point of view. Like, and I guess the best way of saying that is maybe someone says, you should check out this band. And then my response is like a jaded, bitter guy going, this band's just a Anti-Cymix or Discharge ripoff, you know, like, I've heard this already. I try to go and say, oh, they're doing Anti-Cymix Discharge, and they're doing a really good job of it. And you know what? If I'd never heard of Discharge before, this would blow my mind, and I'll backtrack. Because any good band that is doing something cool, in the process of being a fan of their work, I'll discover other great bands that were their influences. Like, I remember getting the Damned's Machine Gun Etiquette when I was 16 years old and hearing their cover of Looking at You and figuring out that it was a cover by a band called the MC5. And I was like, well, this song is cool. Maybe I'll like other songs. And then I checked out the Kick Out the Jams live record, and I was like, holy fuck, this was recorded in the 60s? This is balls out. This is like Kiss Alive. This is, you know, so anything, you know. So I try not to be a jaded old fuck and be dismissive of anything new. You know, everything is a repeat, but then everything mutates as well. Like, punk was supposed to mutate. It was supposed to not be the same thing. You know, so I've had some of my older friends go, why are you playing with that band, The Garden? They're fucking juggalos and it's weird. Well, first off, those two guys, they were raised punk rock. Their dad was a drummer of Final Conflict. Okay.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their dad still plays in punk rock bands. He plays in Shattered Faith.
Wow.
And those guys have legitimate punk rock roots, but they're doing what they learned in punk rock. Do what you like, and it doesn't matter if it fits a format. And there's huge Final Conflict fans, and they've asked us to play with them more than we've been able to say yes to. They offered us a full tour, and they said their booking agent contacted me and did something that no band does. Usually when a band offers someone else a tour, they say, would you like to go on tour with us? Here's where it's going to go, and here's what we can pay you. And that's where it ends. Their booking agent says, hey, the guys are big fans of yours. They want to know, here's the tour routing. Let us know. We know you guys don't normally tour. Let us know how many shows that you could do and what it's going to take to get you to do them. Very rarely do you have someone do that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do it, but they've been so generous and so cool. And their audience, like, definitely were the heaviest thing. And the first time we played with them, I was like, we're either going to scare the shit out of these kids. Maybe they'll like it, or maybe they're just going to say, what the fuck is this heavy metal fucking scream fest, you know? And no, their fans are really young. These are like the first quote unquote punk shows they've ever gone to. And like, the first show we played with them, man, when we walked out, the crowd just starts screaming. And when we went to the first notes, the fucking pit just blew up. It was great. I got 800 kids to stick their middle fingers in the air at the end of the set. Got a good picture of it too. But yeah, it's, you know, and I'm not, you know, we're not doing this to preach to the converted, because we didn't soften our message at all when we played. We probably got a little more political than we normally do at a punk show, because we knew it was a little not a normal punk show for us. So we wanted to make sure these kids knew who we were and what we were about. And they were, I said some serious anti-cop shit on that stage, and the kids came up to me with their parents saying, like, what you said up there was fucking right on, fuck the police, you know, like, so yeah, it was, you know, I'm not here trying to win any popularity contest, and especially not trying to preach to the converted. Like, so we can go and play to a group of people. I'm for giving it a try, you know. I'm not gonna play because there's a chance people won't like us, you know. That's not me.
Well, that's very, that's respectable. I mean, I think that's very, very respectable when bands do that. And that's cool that, you know, the Garden is fans of yours, and you are, you know, open to play with them and under a different fan base. It's cool to also know that, you know, Final Conflict's music and message is reaching the younger generation. That's very, very inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one thing that I say quite a bit, and I started saying it like when we were reforming and starting to play shows again. I said, it's really cool. A lot of these songs were written in 1984 to like 1987, and it's really cool to still be able to play together and to have people show up to see us all these years. What's not so cool is the things that we are singing about are still happening, and especially right now, even worse and more fucked up. And it sucks that we kind of feel like we've got to get this, we've got to say this, we've got to scream this and let other people know that it's okay to be angry and scream it. Plus, I'm playing with both with the two regular bands that I play in. I'm playing with some of my best friends. So again, for me, a good show is like feeling that we played our best possible and getting to play with my friends. I'm really lucky. I mean, fuck, I joined this band when I was 19 years old. And there's no way that I ever would think that at this point in my life, in my late 50s, I'm still playing these songs and people are showing up and people are still pitting and all that. Like, I'm very lucky. We're Jeff and I, we're all, like the guys in the Brats, we're so lucky to be able to do this and have people come to see us. So when it comes to a show, I mean, we're really adamant about doing everything we can to put on the best show possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like you guys are living the dream, your own little way, which it's cool. People still show up. The music still has meaning. People still want to hear those songs played live. So it's, very
awesome. We're really lucky we get to do this, man. Like, I wouldn't, if, the me of now would go back to the 20-year-old me and say, hey, so in 2025, you're still going to be playing with Jeff in Final Conflict. You're going to, blah, blah, blah. I would have been like, no, bullshit. I'll be dead. Or like, I'll be, in an old folks home with hearing aids or something. Like, I mean, dude, like what, a few years ago, the Misfits and Discharge played the fucking Forum.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have told me, hey, in 2025, 40 plus years from now, you're going to see the Misfits play with Discharge at the Forum, I'd be like, bullshit, and it's like, and it happened. It happened.
Very, very cool show. I remember that. Before, still want to talk a little bit more about the message and the politics and stuff, but I wanted to get your take on the term hardcore. It's changed so much, and you mentioned that, Jeff doesn't want you guys to be referred to as a crossover band, but with hardcore, that term, has so many different meanings. The younger kids view it as something as different as, when you guys are around. So what does hardcore mean to you? Do you even think about that term?
Yeah, I mean, to me, hardcore, my era of hardcore, it started getting called hardcore when, these a lot like East Coast, because it was faster than West Coast punk rock and more aggressive. And, it bled over, and then of course it's mutated into like what is now like, I guess you could say, beat down or dudes in like gold chains, that kind of look and act like on stage like rappers, but the music is more like metal based. And again, everything changes. So that's why I make a point to say we're hardcore punk. Like, because to me, like, I also, if someone says we're a punk band, and I think of more like 77 rock stuff, like Lower Class Brats, we're a punk rock band. It's rock and roll with a snotty attitude and image. Final Conflict, we're a hardcore punk band. We're faster, angrier and stuff. But I'm not going to be one of those guys that says, oh, well, that stuff that, bands like Tsunami and shit like that, that's not hardcore. I'm not going to do that because that's what it's mutated into. And I'm not going to take away someone's, that's hardcore now.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's not hardcore that I grew up on. Like when someone says, or says, what kind of hardcore do you like? I'm going to go, oh man, Minor Threat, Government Issue, Urban Waste, Early Agnostic Front, that's my jam, but yeah, I'm not going to sit there and dictate. It's definitely not my thing. I mean, if I were to be critical and talk a little smack, I guess, I mean, I'm not really big on the whole crowd killing thing and it's not my thing. But again, I don't play in a beat down hardcore band, so I don't have to worry about that. And again, it's not for me, man. Like, I remember going to see a show at the Locker Room because I was curious. I can't remember what the band was, but the crowd just started doing that crowd killing shit, you know, swinging at people on the side of the pit. And one of my buddies went like, "Oh, fuck this, man. Fuck this shit." And I was just like, yeah, but everyone here, this is no difference when our parents saw slam dancing and went, "What the hell are they doing?" I go, "It's no different. It's just escalated. It's not for us. This is for them. It's not for us to be the police and tell them you're not doing hardcore right." You know, like, just if these kids don't like the crowd killing, if they don't want it, then they can police themselves and tell the other kids in their community to stop it. They obviously don't mind it. It's part of what they do. That's fine. You know?
Yeah, that's so cool and awesome to get, you know, that, what you were just saying, in that perspective from somebody who played, you know, hardcore punk and still plays hardcore punk among, you know, some of the old school, so-called old school original bands. Because, yeah, you're right, hardcore is a different thing now. And, you know, it's become beat down and there's different genres even within it, metalcore and stuff. So, yeah, but it's good to keep up with all that stuff. Like you said, it might not be your thing, but recognize it's, you know, a different era, which, you know.
Yeah, just because I'm not into it, maybe it doesn't mean that it's not valid, or it doesn't, you know, it has, you know, like, it doesn't have value. Like, I love like the current wave of hardcore punk bands that are out now, you know, like bands like Chain Whip and Vaccine and I mean, countless others, you know, and I keep up on that. That's the stuff like that made me want, you know, that's the kind of punk rock that made me want to be in a punk rock band. And when I go to see those bands, I get pumped, man. I'm like, fuck, man, I want to do a Final Conflict set right now, man. Those guys are fucking killing it, you know? Like, you know, and there's so much to go around. There's something for everybody out there of great new bands, you know? And I'm just naming a few off the top of my head, you know, like, you know, if you like the street punk thing, there's Destructive Bastards. There's another, like, Final Conflict. We played with this band, Trigger Damage they're fucking great. Like, they were like the closest thing for right now, like Poison Idea style punk, like hardcore, in your fucking face. I mean, their music sounds like you're getting your fucking, like, great fucking front man. It's got a great fucking throaty voice, you know, like, there's something for everybody. And I still, like, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, you know, I'm all full up with new bands to like. I stopped getting into bands in 2000, you know, like, I've got a good record collection, and you can see behind me, this is just a portion of the records. I'm always looking for new stuff to get pumped about, you know, but it ain't going to make me give up my Discharge records. It ain't going to get me Italian the Saints. You know, I still love that shit with as much as I did when it came out. I still get excited listening to, like, you know, Battalion of Saints, Second Coming, and the EP, and the first Adolescence Blue album, and like, still, like, gets me fucking going when I listen to it. You know, all the early IO records, Aggression first album, you know, Stalag 13's In Control. I mean, it could go on forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome because, you know what, it's cool to, you know, you always have to respect them. You can always have passion and love the old school classics, but it's always good to keep your ear in the streets and know what's different in the new and upcoming bands and different bands. So that's very cool. I think that's something that more musicians should do. A lot of people are kind of stuck in their own little time. They don't listen to anything but a certain genre or time period of music. So, you know, and there's a lot of people out there like that.
Yeah, there's always new bands, like, always. I actually went to a show and saw this band with the most coolest, ridiculous name called Mr. Radical. And they were so cool. Young dudes just playing hardcore punk rock, like punk rock, aggressive pit stuff. And they were pretty funny, but they were, you know, it wasn't a humor band. It wasn't a joke band. But I thought the name was awesome. I'm like, Mr. Radical, what a great fucking name for a band. I go, that's like if Bill and Ted had kids and they started a punk band, that's what they would call their band, like Mr. Radical. You know, like, so, you know, and I love it when I discover, like, I go to a show and I'm able to get there early enough to see the openers and see a band that's just going for it, you know, like, not trying to reinvent the wheel, just go there and play 4 chords loud, fast, you know, say fuck a couple times in the mic.
Yeah,
you know?
It's always good to find a new band that's, you know, still has it in them. Very cool. One of the things at Blue Beach we've always respected Final Conflict for, the music is awesome, but you use your songs and lyrics to, speak out about war, injustice, corruption, discrimination of all kinds. And we wanted to know basically over the years, we wanted to ask if, have your values, your politics changed over the years, or you still have the same values of politics that you had when you were younger?
I've actually, and again, this is something that I was bitching about to someone, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm in my late 50s. I should not be getting more radical. I'm supposed to be mellowing out with age. But shit keeps happening to get me like, fuck, what's fucking wrong with society? And a turning point definitely for me was the George Floyd murder. Anyone who watches that 9-minute video and not be moved by that, and it just kind of, it just was an incident where I'm like, well, some things don't change. Governments lie, they send their poor off to fight their wars, and cops will still get away with killing brown people, indiscriminately. And fuck, we're supposed to, we had a few years where things are getting better, like, the LGBTQ community was able to finally get married, and all this shit. And no, we have got to go. And now we've got this administration that's sending everything back. They want to set things back in fucking 50 years and doing it and getting away with it. Because there's a group of people that feel threatened, it's like, fuck you, like you've had, no one gives a shit. Like I remember talking to someone who was liberal with a side of the fact, but they were like, I don't really support gay marriage. And I'm like, what? Like, you've got gay friends. Like, you've introduced me to gay people. And they were like, well, I just think that we should just have the one thing that's ours. And that was their argument, that marriage. And I said, you know what? Fucking straight people have spent centuries fucking up marriage. I think gay people should have a chance to fuck it up just as like you straights have. Like, shit, Christ, like, and I was like, really, like, straight people have done such a good job with marriage that you're afraid that it's going to get corrupted by the gay community? Really? And then they were like, well, when you put it like that, like, Jesus Christ, everybody thinks that, and they need to get over this thing that just because someone else gets to have some rights doesn't mean you get less rights. They don't like go, okay, we're going to let the gays get married. So you know what? You straight people, you don't get to do this now because we have to give some. It's fucking ridiculous. Everyone takes everything as a threat.
I mean, that's a good point, because in a way they view it as like infringing on their rights. It's like, hey, no one's saying you can't, you don't have to, it doesn't make, like, why I don't understand. My main thing is I don't understand why people care. And it is stupid. You're right. Like, it's not infringing on their rights. Like, to have other people have their rights. Like, what the hell? That doesn't, it's always been a weird argument,
It's a stupid argument. And like, so it's like, and Jeff and I have had these discussions, we're definitely more committed and more dug in on what we believed in as kids, now more than ever, like, and I don't care how that makes us look. You want to think that we haven't matured or anything? That's cool, whatever. Like, if empathy is a bad thing, having empathy for your fellow human, so be it. I'm immature, like, whatever, it's like, we're here for a short period of time, and, you got to do your best to, like, live a good life and try not to infringe on other people.
That's a good golden rule.
I'm an atheist. Okay. I've been an atheist for a good number of years, and I have some pretty negative feelings about organized religion. At that same token, as long as your religion isn't preaching hate, like, or to against another group of people, or telling people to harm other people, then that's cool. You do you. I'm okay with that. But don't tell me that I can't do something because your religion says that you can't. If you're going to follow that and say you can't, have premarital sex, you can't do this. And that's fine. That's fine for you. But don't tell me that I can't, or other people can't that aren't a part of your little cult, your tribe. Like, you do you. Don't worry about other people, especially if what they do is between consenting adults. Right. Consenting adults. It's not your fucking, whether you like it or if it makes you uncomfortable, that sucks. Deal with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the major problems with people, where it's, they want to get themselves involved in everyone else's lives and business, and, they view it as a threat when the other people get rights. And sometimes it boggles the mind the way people think sometimes. Or
everybody wants to have a boogeyman, and then they're always like, it's always the wrong one. They'll sit there and now, for the past 8 years, it's been trans people and undocumented immigrants are doing this, and it's like, immigrants ain't taking work that you want, and no one, trans people don't give a shit, about you. They're just trying to live their lives and be left alone. And most of the people that are online screaming all this anti-trans stuff, the ones who do it, the ones that are leading the charge the most, they're always getting busted fucking kids.
Yeah, it's like they're
always getting busted every fucking time. The ones that are so anti, they're always getting busted. With child porn, it's projection. So anytime that someone is just going overboard with that shit, I'm just like, it sounds like projection to me, because that's what keeps happening. Every fucking week there's some new guy. There's that website that one right-wing watch, and every time they catch someone, they go, oh, and here's the pro-Trump posts, and here's the anti-trans shit that they were posting for years. Yeah, they're using little fucking kids. Not fucking having sex with 17-year-olds. They're abusing children. So I'm like, yeah, you do.
A lot of disgusting depravity out there that just sometimes makes you sick. Just speaking about politics, I wanted to ask, there's so much division and hatred. People can't even at this point, because of MAGA and all the bullshit happening. People are at a point where they are fighting amongst family, and it's, arguments, and it's just a lot of hostility. What do you think about the whole left-right divide? Can you see it getting better, or do you see it getting worse? How do you think it's going in this country, and then what's going to happen in the future?
Well, I don't know. And this has been my whole view on this whole right-wing thing. It's been brewing for the past 20 years. Okay. Where people just get obsessed with celebrities. And this would be, I'll try and make this digestible in a couple minutes, but
sure, take your time.
We're at a time where you get these people who look at politicians, and then they don't just say, hey, this guy for the most part says what I believe in and I support him. No, they want to they literally get cult about it, wearing t-shirts. Dude, I voted for Obama twice. Okay. I didn't agree with every single thing. I could go on about a lot of things he did in his administration that I don't agree with, but he was a better choice than who he was running against. And one of those two choices was going to win. Okay. But I didn't go and wear an Obama shirt. I would never wear a shirt with some politician on it so the way that the MAGA cult behaves is just disturbing. And you're fucking weird, man. You're wearing a hat, and then you got to wear this, and then you're wearing a shirt. The majority of these people are so homophobic, but then they're wearing a shirt of Trump, that has him with it all cut and very homoerotic. And it's always dudes wearing these type, and they go, and he does not look like that. That's kind of, nothing wrong with it, but kind of homo, bro. And then you don't gays, but you're wearing this shirt of him looking cut that does of a person, and people just get so wrapped up in it, and they think that if you're there's some local politicians that I've got to pay attention to, and I like what they're doing. But if one of my friends went and said, I don't like that guy, I wouldn't take it personal. I wouldn't get mad and argue about, no, you're wrong, and blah, 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 blah. I would just go, okay, cool. But like I know some people, man, you would say one little critical thing about Trump that was factual, like, well, he's a draft dodger, but then he goes on and acts like he's all Mr. War. Oh, well, they get so defensive. It's so cult-like. Yeah. But again, this has all been years in the making where people have just allowed themselves to be conditioned to everything. They got to identify with everything, and they take everything. Well, if you don't like what I like, you're attacking me, and I'm taking it personal. And I'm not that dude. Like I said, like if I got really into a politician to the point where like I was like publicly endorsing them, and then someone came up to me and said, fuck that guy, I would go, okay, cool. Like whatever. Like I wouldn't, because I'm not going to let myself my emotions and stuff be controlled. And it's not going to be like, oh, well, I agree to disagree, because I'm not one of those guys either. There are certain points of view that I'm not fucking with you if you think a certain way. I got no interest in you. I don't got no time. I'm not one of those guys. There are certain things that I draw a line on, and it's like, okay, if you want to fuck with that ideology, that's cool. I don't fuck with you at all. Goodbye, whatever. But I'm not so sensitive and precious that if you don't agree with me, that I'm just gonna like, cause I don't get it. And it's no different. Someone like saying like to me, like fuck some politician that I might have voted for, is no different than saying someone come up to me and go, you know what, just sucks. I'd be like, okay, you don't like him, that's cool. I don't really care, but yeah, it's we've gotten to a point where it's really disappointing. It's disappointing how people are behaving, the ICE raids and all this shit. And it's funny now because as of today, this weekend, right now, all the Trumpers are upset with Donald Trump because the Epstein cover up that's happening right now.
Right.
And I'm not, I know I'm going to have some friends go, oh, finally, this is it. The MAGAs are finally turning on him. And I'm like, yeah, this is what it took for the possibility of him to be covering up or possibly be in cahoots with a pedophile. It wasn't all the endless unchecked racism. It wasn't the fact that he was hiring all these completely unqualified people to be in his administration. It wasn't the unlawful behavior of ICE and people being terrorized. This is what it took. Fuck off.
Well, what sucks is just to keep going on that, and you mentioned it too, it is a cult, and I am noticing and paying attention, there are a lot of MAGAs that are getting mad at him, and there's some videos online of them, burning MAGA hats, but at the same time, it's totally cult-like because there's still some base supporters that, they'll never admit if he's wrong, and they still support him. And so it's like, it's very much cult-like because, even you'd have to be an idiot to see that things are shady, all the bad things going on. But yeah, there's still a base that supports him no matter what. It's cult-like, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, look, I've been anti-Trump since he announced his presidency. And the reason why was real simple. It had nothing to do with the racism, because he's not the first racist president this country has had. He's not going to be the last racist president this country has had. Okay. It had everything to do with the fact that guy had made a career out of shitting on working people. He had a long-standing career of people who had built his buildings and gotten stiffed, and he shit on working people. And I was like, this is not the guy to represent the average Joe. He shits on the average Joe. He doesn't give two shits about it. All he cares about is himself. He's not qualified. Okay. Now, he's been convicted. He's a felon. Okay. He was, the cases, against him, he had a jury. It wasn't a judge. It was a jury of citizens that said, yeah, this guy's guilty. He can't even, his family's not allowed to have a business in the state of New York any longer or run a charity because they got caught stealing from the charity. They're fucking billionaires, and they're stealing from charities that they started. They're the most low class group of people ever. And again, my whole thing is he's not qualified. He's never been qualified, and he made a career out of shitting on working people, and that's why I've never supported him. Because again, yeah, I'm not happy with the president who says and does race patterns of behavior point that they're a racist. But there's been plenty of other presidents that we've had, rich, well-to-do white men, and he's not going to be the last. But because he's never been qualified, and that's why I've been against the guy from day one. At the same time, it's regular working people that they've given him the vote because they liked that he was saying the quiet parts out loud. They liked that he didn't. He was saying things that they wanted to be able to say, but were afraid to say. And unfortunately, what it did is it just showed people like me, well, this country is still really racist and really sexist. That's all it's proven to me. And I'm not crying about it. It's unfortunately the way it is. It was like, God, I thought we had advanced. I thought we'd gotten past this whole like racism bullshit and stuff. But no, unfortunately, we haven't. And he latched onto that. He knew how to say dog whistles and make people feel alienated, and but he's not to blame for the cult-like behavior. That was getting groomed by like media, shoving reality TV down people's throats and making people identify with celebrities, and stuff like that. And it's unprecedented in the sense we never used to have these kinds of arguments. Like, yeah, I know of family members that don't talk to each other over because of their support of Trump, or they're not supporting Trump, and that sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, but again, I also can say, hey man, I see that you're not, you're not agreeing to the agree to disagree thing, and I can understand that in certain respects, because again, there are certain things that I'm like, oh no, this is not a matter of you and I agreeing to disagree. This is me saying I don't fuck with you because I do not like what you are down for, But yeah, it stinks, man. Again, a lot of these songs that we sing in Final Conflict, they were written in 1984 to 1987, and the shit's still valid. We're not going back. Hey, remember that time when cops used to like get away with indiscriminately murdering people, and be like, it's like, no, that just happened last week. And like, and it's, I think, unfortunately, it's more relatable to average people every day now more, especially with the madness that's going on with the ICE raids and stuff like that.
You're right. No, it's becoming a police state with all kinds of this craziness, especially in LA. Getting a little bit back to the division, among families, so many bands, and, is there any, do you feel any among any of the bands? I mean, are there any, you don't have to name names, but are there any, bands that, they are politically, because of what's going on, how it's kind of an issue, or do they try to keep that out of the music for the most part? I mean, out of the scene?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any bands that like I won't. Well, actually, take it back. There's a few, and it's just because like, hey, you know what? If that's where your head's at, that's cool. But yeah, we're not. There's a few bands out there that we wouldn't fuck with, we wouldn't play with, but we wouldn't like make a thing out of it. I wouldn't say, hey, Final Conflict's not going to play because this band's playing, and because we're not the punk police. But they're actually recently we got hit up to be a part of a project, and there was a band who's I'm just not really down for them. I like the band or what they're about, and so I just said, "Oh no, we're not able to participate." I didn't go into the whole thing like I'm not really into that band, and this is why. Like, that's not my thing to be a cop. I got into this because I got tired of being told what I could and couldn't do, and I didn't like authority or cops. I don't want to be that same in reverse. I don't want to be behaving like that in reverse just because someone's political ideology or ethical ideology doesn't mix with mine. If that band isn't causing harm to anyone, I don't need to whistleblow. You know what I mean? Now, if there was a band that was like behaving one way, say, and being in profiting off of it, but not being like that, again, maybe I might be more inclined to say, hey, these people aren't really as legit as you think they are. But I'd have to think about that. You know what I mean? Like, again, it's not my thing to be a whistleblower.
Right. I understand.
I'm just not gonna, like, there has been times like I could think about it, like where the Brats or Final Conflict has been asked to do a fest, and there was like a band or that we were like, I'd rather not play with that group. Like, there was a fest that the Brats were going to play, and a band got added to it, and we almost canceled it, but we were not playing the same day. And we were like, fuck, we really owe these people a show. It was kind of a situation, we're not playing with that band anyways, to play a completely different day. So fuck it. Like, but I am concerned that, there was concern because I was like, I just don't want a fan to think that we're okay. And sometimes when you agree to play for somebody or with some band that has some drama or been canceled, so to speak, you could get the impression that you are okay with them. And so, again, and you don't get to play both ways. You don't get to like play the show with them and then do a thing going, well, we know full well that this band, but we want to let you know we don't agree with them. Like, no, you do the show and you take your lumps if you get it for doing it, or don't do it at all. So there's been a few times where we're like, we're just going to say no, we're going to pass.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Definitely, you have to kind of stick with what you feel. Kind of like you were talking a little bit, but this leads into what I was thinking was that, do you feel that maybe some punk or some bands kind of have shifted into like a more corporate, or if not corporate, where like their message is telling people what to think or who to vote for, rather than, like you were saying, it's supposed to challenge all authority, right?
Yeah. Hey, look, any band, punk rock or anything, can do whatever they want. Like, it's not for me to go and say, oh, this band isn't following the punk rule book. It just comes down to me going, I'm not supporting that band. I don't agree with that, and I'm not supporting it and leaving it at that. I vote with my dollar.
So, yeah.
So, and there's one band in particular that comes to mind right now that's kind of like the unifying factor of all the band members is they're pretty much tied up with some right-winger types, like right-wing pundits and stuff like that. We've never been asked to play with that band, and if we did, we probably wouldn't play with them. Final Conflict or the Brats, we probably wouldn't. Because again, some of the people they run with don't agree with them, and we don't want to give the impression that we're okay with that. But is that band any less a punk rock band than us? No, they're a different punk rock band. They're just a different band. And again, I don't want to, for me, and I think the only thing I would argue is with those people that try to get cute, that go and say, well, conservatives, the new punk. No, it's not. It never has been, and it never. Yeah,
you've heard that before. I've heard that before. Yeah,
and it's not. It's just like, look, it's never been. It's always gone against the status quo. The problem is conservatives are the status quo. But yeah, you could be conservative and be a punk fan, but to be a punk rocker and be espousing political views, especially in the current right-wing climate, it's not very punk rock. But that's my point. That's only important in my world. But yeah, I've always gotten a chuckle out of that. Where like conservatives new punk, and it's like, no. Because basically what you're saying is being an person of no empathy, only in it for yourself, is the new way. And no, it's not. It's not punk. There's nothing punk about this. Never has been. But yeah, you can go, do your punk rock and be conservative and you want, but you're going to have name one band that has extremely conservative politics out front with it that's gotten huge. None.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, if anything,
Now there's popular punk bands that have conservative band members in them, but those bands aren't political at all.
Yeah.
They just strictly play their music. They keep it on an entertainment level. And I always thought, hey, look, you can believe what you want to believe, but if you have an unpopular opinion and you're going to make that a popular opinion known, it's unpopular within the community, you can't cry about being canceled. Okay? You can't cry because you're saying the contrary thing in the majority in the house that you chose to be in. You don't cry about it. I'm being canceled because of my views. Like, no, dude, you knew that the punk scene or, whatever doesn't really tolerate that. No, you don't have to be quiet about your point of view, but understand that if you have an unpopular point of view, someone's going to go, hey, you're wrong, or hey, fuck you. And you can't it would be like me getting upset that if someone was like, again, final conflict, man, fuck that woke shit. I just go, well, you obviously know nothing about us because we've been this way since we started. We didn't get what we've always been, and you obviously don't get us. Whatever, dude. Cool. But it's always these conservative types that whine about being I can't say offensive shit. I said this and everyone got mad at me. Well, yeah, because you made a point to say it on the internet and people can get to you right away.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely
They fuck you. In the past, before the internet, artist, a movie star, a celebrity, or a musician would do or say something, and the news cycle would take weeks, months for it to get out. It would take a while for people. Maybe some people would stage a protest. Now with the internet, you have a direct contact with the band, where if a band or a celebrity says something that you don't like or does something you don't like, you can go, hey man, fuck you, like right to them, and so it's like, yeah, man. So if you're not political and you have an opinion that is maybe not in the norm in your realm, maybe don't say it. Not saying that you shouldn't, but understand that when people don't agree with you, don't be fucking crying about being canceled, because it's not. It's just not. There's a huge difference.
Back and running. So, you were talking a little bit about, the internet and how people put stuff out there and kind of they don't realize it's on forever. So back when Final Conflict was, around, basically when you joined the band and that time, there really was not such thing as like social media, internet. So I want to ask you about that technology. Do you think it's helped or hurt, the culture in terms of punk rock, the music and the activism?
I think
any negatives?
I think it's helped get messages out. It's helped people have access to get to the music quicker and all that stuff. I'm really glad the internet didn't exist, because like when we were a band, because I could just think about some of like the young rivalries that you have as a young man and in a band, and rumor mongering and talking. Like if being young and not having the knowledge and hubris, like I think I said earlier, I've seen old videos of us and I'm sitting there talking. I'm 19 years old talking about current state of political stuff. And I'm just like, oh man, you don't know anything. And I would think that, I remember like there was a period of time, believe it or not, like there was like a group of people in LA that hated Final Conflict because we were getting on all the big shows and they were like, they're fucking rock stars. They play shows that cost $8 to get in. And, it would get me mad. And, again, I'm like 19, 20 years old at the time and get really pissed. And it's funny because some of those people that really spearheaded that, when we started playing shows again, they came to our shows, and here they are in their like mid 40s and they're like, hey man, how you doing? And I was like, oh, I remember you, you hurt my feelings. And they're like, dude, what's the fucking dummy? You guys are still at it, still doing punk rock and fucking, I'm sorry and hats off to you. And I was like, thanks, man, because you hurt my feelings when I was a kid, But the thing, back to the internet, I'm so glad we didn't have it, because I would have fucking like killed someone or killed myself. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things why I tell people, don't Google yourself. Like, so I'm glad, like I said, like I'm older. I know what's important. I know, that, hey, the internet's forever, and make sure that you don't say something that is going to bite you on the ass later, and actually pretty fortunate that we have some friends or some, for instance, some bands that I like, some OG bands, and then you go and pop one of their songs and you're like, oh shit, you could not write this song. Or like, oh, they don't think like that anymore. Like, I think a good example, like right in the middle, is like the Descendants, where they had songs like I'm Not a Loser and I Want to Be a Bear, that had some pretty homophobic, sexist lyrics. And as time's gone on, they've changed a few words. But the thing is, in that point, context is everything. And at that time, in the 80s, a lot of punks, which were mostly young men, I made a joke that, like, man, and I for a while I thought my name was Hey Faggot, because I got Hey Faggot yelled at me so much by the jocks and fucking hippies and rednecks, being a punk kid in 1982, but people would try to tear you down, and I'm not justifying the use of words like faggot in a negative connotation or anything like that. But the point I'm making is, back then, you were always trying to, I'm tough, I'm not weak, I'm not, and homosexuality was like accusing someone it was a sign of weakness. Nowadays, we're more enlightened, and we know, hey man, there's plenty of gay guys out there that'll beat your ass, that can stand up for themselves, and they're not these cliched, effeminate people. And as times have changed, if you go see the Descendants, they don't make a point to say anything about it, but they don't use those words in the songs. They change the words. They still play the songs. They still sound great. But the words are switched. There was a period of time I was singing for the Angry Samoans, and there was a couple songs where Billy was like, we don't play that song anymore. And it was really because he thought the lyrics went a little too far. The Angry Samoans have always been a satire band. They were not cool dudes. They were nerds. But we did play a couple songs, and Billy flat out, before we played them, said, hey man, and he goes, don't say faggot or anything. Can you find another word? And he goes, because it's just not cool. And I was like, oh, Billy, I'm way ahead of you. I've already changed the lyrics. I say maggot, and I, instead of saying this, I say that. He's like, cool, yeah, like, we're going to play that. I'm not going to do it. And there was actually a couple times when we play shows and we wouldn't play Hitler's Cock because there was always some weirdo old white power guy in the crowd, and we knew he wanted, that was why, they're so dumb that they didn't get that song was making fun of Nazis. They saved Hitler's Cock, and they were just waiting. So we would just like, yeah, we're not playing Hitler's Cock tonight. Like, we would just say to ourselves, we play, like, not going to give it to him. Because we know the minute we do, that fucking guy's going to raise his hand up like he's asking a question, acting like Elon Musk. We're not going to give it to him, Like I said, like, it's the context is important, So there's certain things like old songs that, dude, Dead Kennedys have 2 songs where they drop the N-bomb in them. Their remake, we've got it of California Brats, We've Got a Bigger Problem Now, says the N-word. Holiday in Cambodia says the N-word in it. And again, in context, they're talking from the point of view of someone who thinks like a racist asshole. But it's really not necessary now. You don't need to do it. And I don't know if when Jello plays those songs, if he changed it. Ex-Los Angeles drops an N-bomb. And again, it's a story from the point of view of someone who's racist. And I saw video footage of them playing recently. They don't say it. We don't need to. If you want to hear the N-word, you can listen to the record. Yeah. But context is everything. And it's just, the internet, though, makes things a little tougher for younger people because I didn't grow up through my adolescence with the internet and having to put every single thing online. And what social media profile I do have, all I talk about is I don't talk about that I had a shitty day and someone at the post office, got me mad. I talk about, hey, I just got this new record, or talking about the shows. I keep it strictly about the music. I actually, one of the last posts I did, I said, hey, I kind of feel weird posting like, hey, with all the shit going on and people getting deported and ICE raids. I feel kind of weird, like, hey, everybody, I'm playing a show. Like, I feel kind of hypocritical, but that's also why certain people follow me, is they want to know about what I'm doing musically or what I'm into and what I like. And I stayed off the social media for over a month just because it was bothering me so much, and I just felt weird. But, I'll get back on the train. And there's certain times when I do get political that I just, I don't allow comments, because I'm not putting stuff up there to debate or to have someone go, yeah, Ron, right on, fuck yeah, you're the greatest. I'm just doing it to say, this is what I feel. And it's okay if no one agrees. They can unfollow me, they can whatever, but I'm not looking for a pat on the back. So because I had someone go, I noticed you didn't allow comments. And I'm like, yeah, because this is just how I feel. And if I don't want to have some argument, because there's always going to be some idiot, some 40-year-old idiot, it's overweight and it's got some stupid opinion. You're like, what about Hunter's laptop? And it's like, I'm not talking about Hunter's laptop, dude. We're talking about, fucking ICE raids, immigration.
Yeah.
It's always some idiot that just wants to argue. So I'm not going to give it to him.
Yeah. Pointless keyboard warriors just want us to argue.
Yeah. Keyboard warrior, and it's always some dude who has a private profile and so it's just like, nah. So I do got to get better about my social media, because I got a bunch of shows to promote that I'm doing, and some new releases and shit like that. And I constantly get people who send me their books and stuff, and I should be plugging them, but it's just a weird time right now.
Yeah.
I feel kind of weird. Like, hey, I know the world's on fucking fire, but I got a show. Come pay $20 to see me. It's a weird time, man. Dude, Final Conflict, when we were around in the early 80s, was during the Cold War, and fucking Reagan and Gorbachev and white power dudes fucking trying to take over the punk scene and shit. And luckily we don't have that, but just in general, the day-to-day life, it's fucking tough, and it's fucking brutal right now, man.
Yeah, things are fucked up. And it's very unfortunate that, there's a whole MAGA cult and people don't want to see it for what it is. But speaking about the internet and technology, are you up to date or familiar with, the use of AI? Do you think, are you, using that, or do you think that could be something that's positive or negative for?
Dude, I grew up when with the movie The Terminator, so that I instantly think about the machines fighting back, and just, so I'm always really cautious about that. I don't use AI for anything. I don't create. I think one time I used AI on sending a message to someone in Instagram just to see what it would do, and I said, I wrote I think I put Chihuahua surfing, eating a taco, and it shot out that picture, and I was like, awesome, but to use AI in the creating of art, like real art that I'm gonna say it's mine, would never do that. It's bad enough most modern pop music is almost AI generated. It has no soul. Isn't as good as the pop music of the past. It just isn't. And anybody who's using AI to create art and saying it's not, you just told a machine to do it. It's like it's like going to a soft serve ice cream thing and at making yourself and then telling someone, yeah, I made this. Well, you didn't.
Yeah.
Clever, motherfucker, so it's I'm very wary of it, just because I just keep thinking about the machines taking over, but I'm also not going to be one of those people that screams about it, because I don't use it enough, and I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, it's still a new emerging technology for sure.
It new and emerging, and God, I hope it never takes over.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm cool with just regular Google search and normal Google search and all that. And I have no intention of ever using AI for any project, any art on anything my bands do, because both bands have artists in the group. Jeff Harp's an amazing artist. Bones is a great artist. And I play, bass and Clip 45 as well. Dave, the singer, is a great artist too. So yeah, I think it's kind of cheating too when I hear these bands. So their cover art's AI generated.
Yeah.
Cheating.
But kind of in a way, right?
That's what they want. If they want to do it that way they do it. You do your band.
Yeah, definitely. And you just mentioned that, Lower Class Brats, and you mentioned you play bass for them. So I want to know how the dynamic is different, from playing bass in that band and then fronting a band like Final Conflict. How do you how are you able to balance those two roles?
I like playing in the Brats a lot. And that's just because I'm like the side guy. I'm not all the eyes are on me. Plus, our singer Bones is one of my favorite punk rock singers. I think he's got a great fucking voice. And he's got great stage swagger. And I love playing an instrument. So it's great being in another band where it's a completely different thing, where I'm not the front focal point. I'm just a side guy. Yeah, I mean, I help write a lot of the material since I've been in the band. And it's also because I like all kinds of punk rock. I love the Dickies, first 3 records as much as I love every early Discharge record, every early GBH record. And so I'm lucky because I get to play in my aggressive, hardcore, metallic, screamy, protest punk band. And then I also get to play in my punk rock and roll band too. I get to do, both. And, there's no weird thing. Sometimes more than anything, maybe where a problem will arise, Bones and I will talk before a set, and we'll say, hey, on this part of the set, you should, why don't you mention this? And then Bones will go, well, why don't you do it? You're really good at it, this too, dude. And people I like it when you talk. And I go, dude, you're the lead singer. No matter what, this isn't Final Conflict. They want to hear the lead singer. So sometimes I have to go, no, dude, you're the leader. No one wants, I'm just the bass player. People are like, okay, bass man, shut up. We want to hear the lead singer talk. I go, the audience wants to hear you more than they hear me. But Bones and I do have a good rapport on stage. Sometimes it can be a little stand-up routine with jokes back and forth. But I really try not to. And when I am, it's because Bones will say, hey, say this, you're better at it than I am. And you get the message out quicker. So it's 2 completely different experiences, because when you see Final Conflict, it's going to be super loud, it's going to be super aggressive, and it's going to be topical. I'm going to say something, and some shit that we feel is unjust is going down at that time. We're going to talk about it. There's going to be about 30 to 60 seconds of us saying something about it. Lower Class Brats, it's a lot different thing, but things have gotten fucked up enough that even the last couple, last tour we did, and that we did say hey, we're not known to be a political band. We just want to make it clear, where we stand, and we'll say, so fuck Trump and fuck ICE, and then we move on from that. The guys in Lower Class Brats are just as progressive and left wing as everyone in Final Conflict. Just as, and that just happened to be that way, but yeah, there's no, it's just, I'm speaking a lot less, and I'm not singing as much. But I really do love playing in the Brats. I love playing the bass in that band. And I'm also really lucky because I'm playing Jeff, Nick, and Anthony are my closest, some of my closest friends. And in the Brats, it's the same. I'm so lucky to be able to play with awesome dudes that I love getting to play with. Like, it's not business. Like, we're all about doing good business on stage. It's all about doing the best we can, but it's not like, I mean, I know so many bands that there's band members that fucking hate each other, but they make good music together and the fans want to see them, but they literally don't even interact until it's time to rehearse or play a show. They have no interaction. It's definitely not like that with the Brats and with Final Conflict. You know, we get along really well, and there's nothing better than playing music with your buddies, man. Yeah. Especially when the show goes off and you just walk off and go, fuck yeah, we killed it. You know.
Yeah, it sounds like it would make a difference if you're actually friends. So
yeah,
you mentioned I think Angry Samoans and Clip 45. What you've been in a bunch of bands, like they're listed like bands that you've been a part of or played with.
Yeah, I mean, Clip 45. They're back playing, you know, occasionally. And they asked me to, I'd have filled in for them like 2003. I filled in for them a few times. And so the last like 3 or 4 shows, I played bass for them. And I produced 2 of their records and stuff. And it's a lot of fun because we're playing a lot of the early street punk stuff. And it's so fun because it's 3 chords and just, you know, chanting, you know, sing along lyrics and stuff and goofy fun. And yeah, so I'm playing with them in the live band, and you know, but it's not a regular gigging band. The guys in Clit have 2 other bands that they do. They do the Fiends, and they do and why is their other band Before Dawn? Is that's it that they do. And then yeah, I was in Angry Samoans for like a year. They needed a front man, and the guy who was playing guitar for them at the time, Landon, said, why don't we have Ron? And they thought I was going to say no because I'm the singer of Final Conflict and their lyrics are pretty tongue-in-cheek and goofy. And I was like, dude, like, second punk record I ever bought was Inside My Brain EP. Like, it's like the second or the third. Like, I get it. I know that this band has always been satire. I'd love to do it. And I had a lot of fun with them. But it's the first band I ever got kicked out of. Like, Billy kicked me out, but not like a fuck you, you're out. It was just because I wasn't available enough, and they wanted to play more shows than I could do. And so Billy was like, hey man, I gotta let you go. You know, you're not available enough for me. I want to play more shows. So it's like, they got this guy, that's Manny that's singing. He's also in that band, the Jack Trippers, and he's a super nice guy. And I haven't seen him live yet. I meant to go to a show that they played and I didn't make it. I'm sure he's rad. He's super cool. I ran into him at shows. He's super nice. I ran into Billy at Punk Rock Bowling this year, talked to him for a few minutes, and I hung out with Colin when Lower Class Brats, we did some shows with the Addicts, and Colin came out. Still tight with him. But yeah, Angry Samoans, first band I ever got kicked out of my entire history.
Well, you know, I mean,
Hey, if I get kicked out of a band, you know, got kicked out.
Story. But at least it wasn't, you know, no bad blood or anything. That's good, at least.
No, when I got kicked out, I told Billy, like, hey, dude, I got to say thank you. Thank you for letting me be in your group. I had a great time. It was an honor to play. Yeah, there was no, like, I got it. I wasn't available enough, you know? So it's all good.
Definitely.
I got to sing Carson Girls, Inside My Brain and stuff. It was awesome.
Yeah, some like pretty legendary songs too.
Oh yeah,
band. So, you know, we were looking up and found out about Crawlspace Booking. And obviously, you know, you're into booking shows for so many bands. We saw that you represent, I think it's over 50 bands we counted. So, what got you into the world of booking in the first place? Like, how did you get in the world of booking shows?
I learned how to book shows because really early, Jeff and I from Final Conflict were like, how can we get on shows with the bands we want to play with? And we figured it out that if we put the show together like ourselves, then we could play with the bands that we want to see. So we would start contacting bands that we liked and say, hey, would you come down to LA or come up to LA and play a show? We'll set it up. And that's how it started organizing shows. And then as the years passed and throughout even the years I wasn't in Final Conflict, bands would contact me and say, hey, we're coming to LA. Can you set something up for us? And like I said, slowly through years, it just kind of snowballed into, like, again, I would just set up shows if it was bands that I liked and I was friends with, and if Final Conflict was playing or not. Sometimes I would just set it up. Because another thing too was I'd have bands like, hey, we played at this place and I think we got ripped off. Like, well, you know, it would be like a 500 cap room. They'd sell it out. You know, it cost $8 to $10 to get in. And they go, yeah, we got paid $500. And we asked if there was more than that. They said no. And I was like, say to myself, oh, Final Conflict played there. We weren't even headlining. It was sold out. And we got $800 and we weren't even the headliner. So it was kind of like, I wanted to like make sure that bands that I was friends with didn't get screwed, you know, by these promoters. So as the years went on, I would just set up shows here and there. And then I got this job working for a record label and it just wasn't a good fit. I wasn't a good fit for them. They weren't a good fit for me. And I wasn't really liking the job. And I just started to have bands like say, hey, could you be our booking agent? And what you do for us on the West Coast, could you just do it across the US? Because all the other shows we book are shitty until we get to the shows that you book for us. Because I would book like Arizona all the way up into California and to Seattle. That was kind of my thing. Because that was like what I did with Final Conflict. So I was like, okay. So I started doing it on the regular for a couple bands. And then those bands and other bands started going, hey, could you do that for us? And I was like, hey, I should quit my shitty day job. I like doing this and I'm good at it. And I don't like my day job. So in 2000, I just finally was like, you know what? I'm going to quit and I'm going to try this booking thing. And I did. And I haven't, you know, it's been 20 plus 25 years. I haven't had a job that I have to be somewhere Monday through Friday. I work for myself, and then now I have two other guys that work with me, and they book bands as well, you know, under the Crawlspace Booking moniker. But this was all like really organic. It wasn't like an intention. It just kind of like put it this way. If I was like to start I was going to start a booking agency, I wouldn't have called it Crawlspace Booking, but I was already doing I was doing shows locally, and I had this small little record label with my friend Andy, and we were putting out grindcore records and stuff, and just that was being called Crawlspace. We called the record label Crawlspace, but it all started with me doing small promotions where I was doing a show, and the guy goes, okay, so we do like Ron Martinez Presents, and I was like, oh, no. Not putting my name, Presents. And they're like, well, we got to give it like a production name because you're bringing the show to us and we're not presenting it. We have to we want to, so you're presenting it. And I was reading this true crime book and it was open on my bed. And it was a chapter about John Wayne Gacy. I actually I found the actual book again. And on one page of the book, it had this John Wayne Gacy's mugshot. And then it had the text. And in real big font, the chapter about John Wayne Gacy was called Crawlspace. And I was looking at the book and I just said, call it Crawlspace Booking Presents. And that's how I kind of got stuck with it. Regularly doing shows as Crawlspace, did the record label. Hey, you know what? Let's just call it Crawlspace because it doesn't sound like any one thing. Like it doesn't sound like one, like you know what you're getting. Like it could be any type of genre of music. And then when I started doing the booking agency full time, I was just like, call it Crawlspace Booking. Because it was already kind of like established brand name. And it's funny to me, like when I'll hear someone like go, oh, they're one of those Crawlspace bands. So they're rep by Crawlspace. Kind of weird, kind of cool that we kind of created like a brand name out of it, because it was something that really I didn't put no thought into it. Like I needed a name and it just said Crawlspace on that book and it went Crawlspace Booking, you know, because at the time I was really big on true crime, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes those are the best and kind of, they just end up working out. So I wanted to ask about booking shows. What would you say some of the most important qualities to have being a booking agent? And then also for up and coming bands, what would you say some of the best things they can do to book shows and get themselves, on your bill or get noticed?
I think that one of the most important thing is about being a booking agent is to work with bands that you believe in and you like. Don't take bands on because you think they're going to blow up and they're going to be big. That shouldn't be the intention. The intention should be, I'm into this band. I like what they're doing. I support what they're doing. And I want more people. It's no different than making a mixtape for your friends and go, I'm going to make you a mixtape of all these bands you've never heard of, but I like, and I want these to become your next. It's the same thing. Is have that kind of like, you're a human mixtape. So to me, and that has always been our thing, is like, you got to be into it, into what they're doing, into them as people. They're not neither, that especially into them as people, it's not negotiable. Because there has been where I've had bands and I've met them and they're looking for representation. And then I just know, like, you know what? There's been incidences where I love the band. I'm a fan, but I just know I'm not the right guy for the job. They need an agent that could get them in directions of the music scene that I don't normally reach. And I'll say, dude, I love your band, but I'm not that guy. I'm not the right person. You need someone that's more in the niche of what you're doing. I've also met bands where I was like, great band. I'm seeing people, there's something here. People are digging them, but they're kind of douchey. And I just turned it down because of that. I was like, nah, this isn't going to be a good fit. I've had a couple times where I was wrong about a band and I was told, yeah, you shouldn't really work with them. But I was like, no, they seem okay. And then getting to know them, I realized they're not okay. And they're like, we just got to end this. Like, no matter the popularity level or anything. But that's important. You got to be into it. You got to be a believer in what you shouldn't be. A pop band's going to be popular and they're going to make a lot of money. Should not be the motivational factor. The other thing that I think that separates us is the other two guys that work with me, this Jay and Henry. They both still play in bands. They both tour manage bands. They still get in the van. And we're not just sitting behind a desk and setting bands out there. We're still meeting and seeing what the venues that we book at are like. And we know what we're talking about. And I think it makes us better booking agents.
You're in the field, right?
Yeah, because we're still in the field doing grunt work too. So I think that's important because there's a lot of people that are in this industry that went to business college, and it's seriously just like, to them, it's just product and widgets. Like, bands they're not, people, they're not creating art. They're just a commodity to move and sell. And we don't approach it like that. We genuinely like and believe in what we work with. You got to be patient. You got to have a lot of patience. Not every band is different. Every process they have is different. Some people are a little more difficult, or you have to like work with them different. Like, you have to work with band A differently than you work with band B. It's not cookie cutter. It really isn't. There's not a cookie cutter way of working with artists. So that, like, that's the most important thing. Be into what you work with. And what was the second part you asked?
I just want to know, for bands up and coming, how do they, like, what's your best advice for them to get shows, get booked, gigs, get recognized?
Okay, that's easy. First off, don't get a booking agent. Like, at the beginning, you only hire a booking agent when you're getting so busy that you can't do it yourself. Do it yourself as much as you can so you can learn everything you possibly can. To get noticed on shows, the most important thing is to be politely persistent. Go to local shows. You can't be a local band and only go to shows that you're playing at. If you're not going to go and hang out and be a part of the community is not going to support you, and the community is going to know. they'll talk and they'll say that those guys, the only time they're ever at a show is when they're playing. Fuck those guys. Like you know, be real and get out there and communicate. When you do get a show, promote the fucking hell out of it. Because even I, like when I was a promoter and even to this day, the few times that I have a say in like who plays locally, I'm going to put a band on that might not necessarily themselves draw a ton of people. But if I know that they promote and they put the word out like, hey, we're playing with Haggis. Hey, we're playing with Exhumed. Hey, you know, we're playing with Negative Approach, and they're going to bludgeon all their friends and anyone that they can get the attention of that they're playing with the band. That goes a lot further than a local band who just like who does nothing or posts once on their Instagram profile and then leaves it at that. Like you can never over promote a show, and a promoter and a venue, they're going to like. If they see you out there hustling, going to shows, handing out flyers, like to an audience that remotely might be interested, like at that show, they're gonna notice and remember that and go, hey man, they might be an unknown band right now, but man, do they hustle with a promotion? That goes a long way. Like you know, and staying in touch. Like every once in a while, like I'll have someone reach out to me and if the band is good, but I don't got nothing, I'll say, hey man, drop me a line every so many months. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know what you're doing. Like, I don't have a show that you would fit on. Because in reality, I don't pick 90% of the tours that I'm booking, the shows in those tours, I don't pick the locals. I have to leave it up to the promoters who keep in touch with their stuff. And sometimes I have a few bands that are they're very adamant and they're like, hey, in this city, we know this band we want to play, and they curate it. But I try to trust the local promoter, and I stress to them like, hey man, put young relevant bands supporting and hustlers, you know. And again, I don't care that you don't draw a ton of people. What I care about is if you're going to promote the show and let people know that you're playing with somebody else. And that's about the best advice I can give, like for bands trying to make a name for yourself. Play as much as you can. When you get a show, don't be a pain in the ass to the club. Find out, hey, what time do you want us there? What time is our set? You know, and you get there on time. Your band, you need to be there on time, and you get there and you don't be a pain in the ass to anyone. Because again, any band that's ever played a show that was cool and courteous and work with us, you know, will always get like, okay, duly noted. Got to make sure to hook those guys up again. And any band that's a pain in the ass, that's late, that's asking the touring band, can we borrow your gear? It's like, this band drove 6 hours to show up this show. You live 15 minutes and you couldn't bring your own gear? You want to borrow the touring band stuff? I'm also going to remember that and just say, yeah, pass on those guys. Like they're lazy. So yeah, find out what time you're supposed to be there from the person that booked you on the show, that got you on, or from the venue. Like, what time should we be there for load-in? What time is our set? And remember, like, say if the venue tells you your set time is from 8 o'clock to 8:25, hey, doesn't matter if you start 5 minutes late. What matters is you end at 8:25. You don't go, well, we started 5 minutes late, so can we go to 8:30? No, don't pull that. You're ruining everyone's like schedule. Like, just deal with it. Like, even to this day, like when we play, we just did 3 shows with the Addicts, and we were direct support. We were playing right before them, and we got a 45-minute. They go, you guys got 45 minutes. Well, we deliberately had a 40-minute set because we were like, hey, there might be some technical difficulties. It might take us a little longer to get going. So we made sure that, you know, we started. You know, if we started a little later, we still ended at a time so we didn't infringe on anyone else. And again, we're friends with the Addicts. They're our bros and stuff, but still, we know our place and we try to show respect, you know? And, but there's been a few times, like, at least for me, there's been times we play with bands and they drag ass. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But I know plenty of other bands that are just like, oh, fuck that band. They're never playing with us again. They took forever to set up. They took even longer to tear down. our show ran late because of them, and they were, the first band on the show. So it's like, yeah, be mindful, I'll always advocate for that band, that local band that's hustling on the promotion, like hustles on the promotion, shows up on time, does their thing, and doesn't matter they didn't draw. To me, like, what matters is if they are going to promote the hell out of it.
Yeah, it's good advice for sure. I mean, some bands are lazy, and sometimes maybe it makes to be that they're unprofessional. So definitely good advice. With all the bands you work with, are there any up and coming bands right now you think people should know about? I mean, any that really just kind of left you speechless?
Locally, just off the top of my head, locally, some of the bands I really like, Trigger Damage, are great. Bones from the Brats has another band he does called Brazen Bull that are fucking amazing. They're nothing like the Brats. It's hardcore punk, and they're great. I mentioned him earlier. I really like Vaccine. Valencia, I really like a lot. I knew about them and I listened to some stuff streaming, but I just saw them for the first time. Habak from Tijuana, fucking great band, like fucking awesome. I know I'm gonna miss one, like an obvious like friend of mine's band that they'll see this and go, bro, you didn't mention us, But yeah, I mean, I try to stay on top of everything. Any band that, it's funny, I was talking to someone that's in an old band, and I said, oh, I still have your CD demo that you gave me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like I remember someone from the Destructive Bastards, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, giving me their CD split demo tape or something, like demo, and I still have it. They're another good band. They just put out not too long ago an LP, and they're touring all the time and playing a lot. They just played with the War Lovers, which is another band that from the East Coast that came out, and that's another band I really like and people should pay attention to. They're a 2-piece.
Oh, cool.
And on the East Coast, they're very like active on like organizing shows, and they organized their first festival. They're doing their second year now in upstate New York. Really nice people, really fucking cool. And for the metal stuff, I love Necrot, one of my favorite American death bands, and I book them, but I still would say I was a fan of theirs for years before I became their booking agent. I think the new Haggis album is fucking amazing. It's probably going to be one of my favorite punk albums this year. I don't know. There's so many. I should, and when I do these things, I usually make a list of bands to like drop names to. And I feel lame because I'm going to probably, when we stop doing this, I'm like, oh, I should have plugged this band. Like, those guys are so fucking cool.
Yeah, that always happens. But we notice you represent a lot of bands, different punk, metal bands, and it's quite a list.
Yeah, I'm like, and I don't book every single one of them. Henry and Jay do their stuff. Henry's straight up underground metal guy. I'm the punk metal guy, and Jay does punk rock, some punk folk stuff, some pop punk stuff. He's definitely a little more varied because he likes a bit of everything. He likes metal, he likes that, and but I'm the metal punk guy.
We have a message from one of our Patreon subscribers. They want to hear about the band Wolf Brigade.
What do they want to know when they're going to come back?
Yeah, or if they're going to play shows or.
I'm trying to get them to come back. I actually sent an email to them, a message to those guys, because the last time I brought them out was such a great show. Trying to get them out probably won't happen until as early as late 2026, because that's what they said, that they've already booked everything, because they're a band that doesn't tour. They just do like festivals and that's it. And I hit them up at the end of the year like, hey man, let's plan on bringing the band out 2025, and they were like, we're already booked up. So maybe late 2026, hopefully. I would love out.
Yeah, we've got some fans. Want to thank them for supporting our Patreon. Like, they were asking about the band, so it's good to hear the update. And yeah, they don't really tour, so it kind of just shows here and there, right?
Yeah, they just do like festival stuff. But I booked them twice, and I've seen them 3 or 4 times live, and they're so fucking good. They are the best existing DB band playing, like hands down, one of the fucking best. And the last time I saw them was when I booked them at a festival in Seattle. It was so, because they've got like this sound, and their sound check was so quick. They literally just went to the amps and just like made minor adjustments, and it was boom. It just sounded like them instantly. Like they're so good. Like, yeah, I definitely would love to bring them back.
Well, hopefully they get a chance to come back and play, at least more than one show. We had some people like them, so very cool. Any final plans or any other future plans coming up for Final Conflict or Lower Class Brats? Any tours or shows you want to announce coming up?
Okay, well, for the Brats, in 2 weeks, we're doing a Southwest tour with the band from Italy, Judah. We're playing Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, San Diego, Long Beach, and LA. If you go in the Lower Class Brats social media, you can see it. I've been meaning to post about the shows, and I should do it. I'll probably do it.
Punk band from Italy, you said?
They're a punk rock and roll band from Italy. They're great. They are such an amazing live band. And yeah, it's very like foot stomping, hand clapping, sing along.
Okay.
Kickball, soccer, punk rock. And we're also on that tour. The Menstrual Tramps from Minneapolis are going to be joining us on that tour. Who are friends of ours, and they're fucking great punk rock band. Let's see. Final Conflict. What do we have? We've been asked to do a couple shows, and we just weren't able to do it because one of the band members wasn't available. He was playing with his other band. But we're going to play CY Fest in March of next year. So yeah, we don't have anything new, but we'll definitely have something to announce. If there's something. We keep talking about doing something again. Plus, we wanted to start working on some new material and put out at least an EP. We've been talking about it for years. Jeff has stuff written. We just haven't rehearsed it and put it together. So, yeah, there's that.
That'd be huge. I know that'd be a really big release. I have a lot of fans that would love to hear new music, so hopefully that could happen.
Yeah, my main thing too, my main concern in Jeff is we want to make sure that I told him, like, let's really stick with the demo formula, like just bare bones in your face. Like, I think that's what we do best. Let's not try and like modernize what we do. And Jeff was like, oh yeah, I've got stuff just like that. It's like, yeah, I really want to go for the throat aggressive, because believe me, with the way things are going right now, I got no shortage of shit that we've got to sing about. And so, yeah, it's definitely the time for us to be writing some new shit, and, I mean, who knows how much longer I could fucking do this. I'm amazed that I'm able to sing some of these songs and still the same range and everything that I can. Like,
yeah, I mean, everyone's getting older, but you guys still bring it when you guys play. And like you're saying, with things going on now, we need bands like Final Conflict to bring the energy and the message more than ever. I mean, it's a strange times, but it's a lot of unfortunate things happening, and it's really messed up. So makes bands like yours more important. Final Conflict, yeah. If you have a legacy that, people still, the music it stands the test of time.
It has, unfortunately, like what we were singing about then is even worse now. And we don't want to fool ourselves like we're some kind of like, we're going to change the world. But even if anything, that we just give people a chance for people just to like get together and go, fuck, like all together and scream fuck out loud, like shit's fucked up. At least we got that, and I think it's really important to let people go, yeah, shit's fucked up and you should be pissed. So let's be pissed off together and have a fucking drink and, raise your fucking fist in the air and like whatever. If that's the least we can do, then mission accomplished, because I don't want to confuse like I think we're a lot more important than we actually are. I want to maintain some kind of like, be humble. And again, we're really lucky we're still able to do this. We really are.
That's good. That's a good attitude, having a way to look at it. I mean, it is true, but the music does bring a sense of community to a lot of people, especially now with things happening like you're saying. So you still have a lot of fans out there. You're an underground band, but there are a lot of people now that still, get the message from music, and it's important to a lot of fans.
Yeah, I'm surprised that people continually will know. There'll be times I've been working with a club or a booking guy for 10 years, and then they'll go, "Hey, someone just told me you're Ron Martinez from Final Conflict," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." They're like, "Fuck, dude! I've had Ashes to Ashes since I was 16. I didn't know. I didn't put two and two together." And this is a guy that I've been booking mostly metal with that knows who we are. So that's always been cool. I'll make jokes too sometimes when I'm working an angle, and I'll be like, "Hey bro, if you're really a fan of Final Conflict, you got to give this band a shot. You got to put this band I'll call it pulling Penis card. If you really love Final Conflict, then you'll book a show for this band." It's a joke, but yeah, it's been pretty cool. I've gotten to meet so many people that really like Final Conflict's music, and I'm never surprised when it comes up anymore. I ordered a record from Discogs, and it wasn't a punk album at all. And I found this vinyl copy of a record I've been looking for, and I ordered it from this record shop in DC. And then I opened up the package, the thing, and written on the cardboard, the guy just wrote, it was addressed to me at my home under my name, not the Final Conflict P.O. box or anything like that. And then I opened it up, and on the cardboard backing to protect the record, the guy wrote, "Final Conflict rules," and then drew this little nuclear blast. And I was like, "Oh shit, that's cute. That's fun. Now that's nice," and I'm sure that guy was like, "God, I certainly hope this is the Ron from Final Conflict," because they're probably going to go, "What the hell is this? What's this Final Conflict?" Yeah, I've always had these little fun, special surprises that happen because of me being in Final Conflict. And we're not a big band. We're not a big underground band, we're very underground of the underground, but we'll be, there'll always be pleasant surprises. I'm lucky. Me and Jeff are really lucky.
Well, it's very cool. I understand you guys have the same lineup for a while now. So, it's good to hear you guys are still playing shows, and, like I said, people are still into it. So, very cool. And we really respect you, for the music, but also for the passion you have behind the message. It's good to know there's still some bands out there with integrity, and they still, their music is what they believe in, and they fight for what they believe in. So Final Conflict has always been one of those bands. So anything else you want to mention? Maybe we've been talking for a couple hours here, I think. So anything else you want to promote or bring up or mention?
Social media I have is Instagram. I'm at Ron Conflict.
Okay.
I think I'm the only Ron Conflict on Instagram, so people can follow me there. I try to keep, what I'm doing on that. Try to give plugs about stuff I'm excited about, records I get, books I get. I try to keep it on the positive tip. And I'm at all the local shows. I try to be,
No, it was really cool.
I appreciate you guys asking me to do this.
Definitely. It's been a cool conversation. We definitely covered a lot. Thank you, Ron, for being on the tapes and appearing on Blue Beach. We really respect Final Conflict. Like we're saying, it's one of those bands where you just have a legacy, even though you're underground, but people are still into it. And like I said, the music and the passion for your message in the music is really, really what stands out. So appreciate your time. Thank you. We'll make sure to check out Lower Class Brats and Final Conflict on your social media. And then hopefully we'll be able to see you guys when you play with the Italian band in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the tapes. Appreciate it, Ron.